Hello and welcome to the final episode of the Kiln of 2021. Not the final episode overall. I have a lot more planned.
Scary.
Yes, that's right. But honestly, today we are doing another 3x3. We start with the 3x3, we're gonna end with the 3x3. But before I do that, I do want to just ask a quick question to you boys. That's why we're in this format. We're not in the normal format. Also, starting in this format just seems better. So, boys.
What's up?
Yeah.
Got any hopes for the next year?
Nah.
No.
I hope you won't.
The world is literally gonna end.
I hope you won't ask me that next year. That's what I hope.
Asses. God.
I hope they give me a raise. I want more money.
Okay. Alright then. Fair enough. Then we might as well just get into the episode. And I
Do
will...
you have any hope?
Me? You know, I get burned out with my drawing a lot. Especially with just drawing my own shit. So, I'm just hoping to do a lot more on my Patreon. A quick plug right here. Go to my Patreon. You can be either a member of the Kiln Patreon, with there's just exclusive shit for this dumbass group, or support me as this dumb artist who will be doing a lot more work next year.
That's okay.
Yeah,
I support
that. Thank you. Yeah.
Don't support you.
Thanks. But anyway, I will do the spinny wheel to see who is going first, second, and third. And first is...
You said we're doing a 3x3, but you haven't said what the 3x3 is.
We'll get into that very soon. I just wanted to find out the order first.
So you want to have everyone wait? Everyone's
Yes.
so eagerly waiting to find out what the 3x3 is.
Oh, fine. The 3x3 today is 9 things we found and I guess enjoyed or liked during the year of 2021. Things that just... ending the year on a positive note.
For clarification, this isn't necessarily things that have come out this year.
No.
This could also be things that it's just
It's
things
just
that we've
things.
discovered.
Yeah. That's right.
I had a film from fucking 80s, I think. When did this come out? 87. Okay. Yeah, it doesn't need to be new. Just new to us.
I don't know what you're on
The
about.
oldest thing I have is 70s.
The oldest thing I have is I don't know. But
I mean, I guess it depends.
either way,
It depends, but
the order is me.
Bitch.
Well, I'm going first. Caleb. And then ending it off is Alex. As we all...
Why are we disappearing? Why are we disappearing? Where are we going?
instant transmission.
Instant transmission. That's right. That's right. So, I left my last one kind of in a bit of a missing question mark of what my last one would be. So my last one is a surprise. But it's not really a surprise if I'm going first, to be honest.
Yeah, that's true.
Do you want to still go first?
I will go first. I will do it first. And this, I guess, is my surprise.
Bruh!
No, fair enough.
What's that?
Okay.
So the other day
Yeah,
when you asked me, do we know of it?
That's fair enough. Yeah.
Probably vaguely.
No, I've never heard of it before.
You never heard of it? Go check it out. I hear they're stupid.
Podcast. It's not a bad idea.
Yeah, they look stupid.
Yeah, that's right. God. So yeah, I guess this kind of had to be one of mine. When I was really thinking about it, I could not pick another source besides this one to choose as my, like, final secret choice. Because at the end of the day, the Kiln podcast has started this year. It might have been talked about in prior years before this year, but I really got up on my ass and really started to do shit and do a lot more. Like, I even have the prequel to the current Kiln logo, which is hanging around in my file somewhere, which I think I did in 2019 or something like that. But now I'm bringing it into fruition and getting off my ass and being more motivated to do a lot more shit. I don't know. I think as well as having a little space and a little thing where it's like communication, talking about weeb shit, doing random things with the boys, having little fights within the tournaments, and watching Edward Newgate crush everyone with his giant mustache. Or just having...
Some of them are just unfair.
Let's be honest. The old man just won, like, both of them.
Oh, don't sleep on the old man.
Don't sleep on the old man, that's right.
No, sleep with the old man.
Oh.
I have to.
Okay, I guess you could do that either way. But yeah, I think this has been one of my absolute favourite things to do of this year. Just doing the Kiln with the boys, and currently I am streaming a lot more on my own now. Or I'm starting to, heading into January. All the episodes we've done, like, I'm not sure if I do have a favourite episode so far. I part of me wants to say the last episode we did, because I just thought it was a good discussion.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, in terms of having a favourite episode. Like, episode 1 was kind of standard, we're just getting our footing, and kind of like, it's not that great. I think episode 15 was a really good episode, just us talking and just us talking about random shit. But either way, I think that was... But I do hope this has a lot more to come, a lot more promotional stuff coming later in the future, like when episode 20 hits. And other things like that. I don't know what else to say really about the Kiln. It's just me working hard on things. It's partially always on my mind of interesting new things that we could possibly do moving forward, or even just looking back at anything that we've done kind of makes me a little bit happy. And it's always nice to see that only 2 of us have been in every episode. Alex.
Bitch.
And I also hope we have maybe a guest next year.
Just one whole guest.
Or one whole guest. No, we can have multiple guests, but I don't know. Having a guest would be nice. I don't know how we'll do the guesting, but it will be interesting.
I don't know who the guest will be, but...
It's Christopher Sabat.
Yeah!
yeah.
Glassmaster himself.
himself.
Otherwise, well, I'll just move on from that. But either way, next we have Manga Theory and Practice by Hiroki. Oh shit.
Hiroki.
Hiroki. Yeah, the book's next to me, honestly.
The book's behind
I just said it weirdly, so it's fucked up. The Craft of Creating Manga by Hiroki Araki. Yes, if you don't know who that is the author, creator, mangaka of JoJo's Bizarre Adventures. I say adventures because there's multiple JoJo's.
Fair enough.
Yeah. But either way, the reason I put this in, because this is something that did not come out this year by any means.
Excuse me.
But I got this book in January of this year, and I think it was one of the things that really made me interested in how other people like craft manga, the theories, even just looking at how one of my favorite series was created, the ideas, the characters, the little notes and the little personal attachments, kind of like it makes JoJo's feel stronger for me as well. So it made me fall in love with JoJo's a little bit more, and also helped me to understand a little bit more about either the industry I really enjoyed the other little examples that he gave in the book that wasn't just Dragon Ball, obviously, because Dragon Ball came out around the same. Oh, it was prior to JoJo's coming out, but it's such a fantastic book. It goes through a lot. Like I keep a bookmark just stuck in at his character pages, looking at how he writes a character in, or even like he comes up with the stand first and then writes the character around the stand itself. That way he has the idea of the power and the personality of that power, and then he can just build around what he already knows and kind of makes things. And it's all about, like, he even has like what the 4 major fundamentals of the manga structure, like theme, characters, story, and setting, all surrounded, and all things that come together with that is the art itself. So art is such a heavy thing when creating manga itself. It sets everything up of those 4 little elements. The theme's a little bit set out of it, apparently, in this book. But I don't know. Yeah, it's a good book. It taught me honestly a lot about manga. I read this.
I found the book and I found my little receipts bookmark in it.
Like, I didn't read this right away because I got this in the middle of January. I read it at the end of January, whilst moving into February. But still, pretty good book. Pretty good book.
I didn't read it immediately either. I got it at the same time as you in January, and I read the first chapter in June, and then I didn't read any more. It's good shit. I just never got around to it. Chapter
It is a
2,
good
last
book.
one, 4 major fundamentals of manga. I have a bit of summary one day, like, somewhere.
Yeah, well. Either way.
No, it's actually really good shit. It's something I have every intention to read, invest myself into, and actually take notes on. Not just not creating manga, but actually creating meaningful stories from one of the most prominent authors in Japan.
It's not that just that he's prominent for me. I think it's also because you really see how hard he's worked over his tenure of drawing and writing JoJo's. Like that, if you look at his like hiatus chart, that man did not stop. He was doing weekly from part 1 to 6 and then changed to monthly and has been on the grind. He has taken a little bit of a break now, and I'm saying, hey, go for it. Just have your little break before part 9 comes out, which I think is coming soon anyway. Sometime in 2022. But either way, good shit. Good shit. I really enjoyed it. And it was also hard to pick this one as well. I've read this book twice now. And, because it's not that big of a book, but it's a decent chunk of writing and literature. Writing of what happened. Otherwise, I think I was just thinking about, I was thinking of something. Yeah. Maybe just other JoJo's things that happened this year. Whether that be part 5 being animated or part 8 finishing.
Part 6 was animated.
Yeah, sorry, part 6. Yeah. Because it says season 5, so it confuses me.
I'd pick up and read that book, but I mean, other than obviously, you know, possible spoilers, it's also, I feel like I probably wouldn't understand it without the context of his works. But if I ever did happen to finish JoJo's, I would pick it up. Okay, that much.
I think once we do get into JoJo's, I will actually read it. Coming soon.
Well, either way.
For the JoJo avatars.
Oh god. I've drawn myself as a JoJo before, so that shouldn't be too hard. It's just gonna be annoying.
No, it is. From what I did read, it's a fantastic look out how to create a story. What I read, he talked a lot about just grabbing the reader's attention in the very first page, the very first panel. You have to make it meaningful at the start to make sure readers actually give a fuck. And he's right, because if I don't like your first or second page, I'm gone.
That is true. I will stick around if it catches me. Or I will read the first 5 chapters and then quit. Unless it's PPP, because I just quit that shit immediately.
I'm surprised I read the second chapter of that, to be honest.
Mm. I think another thing that makes this such a strong thing is that, yeah, it is by someone that we know, his work, and I think that just made the book a lot stronger, and I would love to see a lot more, like, other authors kind of create their own little book like this.
Yeah, because there's a lot of books they say this is how to make like the definitive
Yeah.
perfect story, but this is him saying this is how I made Judges. This is what I did.
Yeah, he talked about his struggle with, or the idea of pressure between him and the editors to make like a tournament style thing, because like tournaments in shonen were all the rage back in the day, but obviously because of Dragon Ball. But he like him finding his way around that and what he did to kind of alter that, and then finally just kind of had enough and just kind of created what he wanted to create. And it kind of shows you this, he was a little bit of an underdog kind of story that kind of has been able to last longer than Dragon Ball ever did. Maybe not in the eyes of, or made the greatest impact on the world as Dragon Ball, but has made a fairly decently sized, and it really does feel like an underdog fight reading those early chapters of like him going through his early stages to become such a prolific mangaka. But either way, next up we have the Hawkeye Show, which ended recently. So I will say spoilers. Maybe not spoilers, because I'm not going to be talking about more of like the themes and maybe like why I liked it. And to be honest, I don't really know why I liked it, especially over the other Marvel TV shows that came.
Fucking Haley Stanfield. That's what's her fucking name? Kate Bishop. She was the fucking best character potentially in the MCU. Fucking fight me.
Okay, I will fight you.
Like, holy shit, she was amazing. And obviously more with Jeremy Renner coming back as Hawkeye, because he's a fantastic actor.
It's something that we didn't really get to see in a lot of other.
Yeah, we never got to see more of him being him. The struggle he takes for just a guy who he's not the best person on that team. He frequently admits that Natasha was always better than him. But to be the guy that can, it's incredibly interesting to see everything he goes through, and to see him as an older man struggling to cope with everything he's gone through, all the physical things he's dealt with. He says he calls his wife. It's like, don't forget the fucking frozen peas. Gonna need them.
Him losing his aid. Yeah, as well. Like little struggles, and that like I think one of the reasons I really like this is because out of all the shows, he kind of just is that one just dude trying to have a life. I think the struggle between that and everything, and like how he's known to the world, and even the secret life he lived. He was never trying to be
a hero or like a symbol.
He was a secret agent always. Especially in Marvel.
Spy meant for killing, and now he's been put into this situation. And then Kate Bishop's like, it's all about representation. And he's like, I'm a spy.
I'm a spy. I don't need to be flashy. I don't need to stand out. And Kate just being Kate was also nice, as well as Lucky the dog. I'm just saying. I do wish the end credit scene was something different, though.
I don't. That was phenomenal. That was the best. I was hoping for that. I was hoping for a whole other show of just that. But no, they gave us the whole thing. I wanted it. I needed that. I craved that. That was way better than any hint you could have ever given to any. That is on par with me with the after credit scene of Homecoming. Where it was just Steve Rogers coming up, like in one of those like educational videos, and he's like, "Today's a lesson about patience." That was, mwah. It's on par with that. Love it.
No.
I'm a big. I love these fucking hints and shits and all the.
I think
like, Easter eggs I'll give for any shits for the future projects, but I love that shit more.
Now, I feel like this also partially might have been recency bias of why it made the list instead of Loki. Because I also really enjoyed Loki. But there were things in this one that felt kind of just normal, plain, human, mankind shit that I kind of enjoyed more aspects of than the whole, like, either the timelines going to shit, the House of Madness, or even just the politics of Falcon and Winter Soldier. I think because this one felt very human is why I liked it, even with like the LARPing and those guys. That was also kind of nice, and even seeing like the twist in it, or even like, I think one of the aspects I really enjoyed out of all of it is that Christmas didn't play a heavy role in the themes or the tone of the tone of what was happening. Because obviously a lot of things, like all those Christmassy tropes, never really occurred during the series, but Christmas was just more of a motivator to go back to his family and the promises that he made. It
also helped the Christmas setting also helped the connection between Kate Bishop and Clint actually Bloom.
Yeah, and
that one
family,
which was neat.
Either way, Kate
It's
Bishop.
I always liked. It's why I like Hawkeye and Winter Soldier more than I liked Loki and WandaVision. I like that in this series full of gods and magic that there are these little guys trying to get through it just as much and trying to accomplish things just as much as them, and they have these hurdles which are so small in comparison that they've just. That's why I love Daredevil as well and love the Netflix shows. They're the little guys in this world of gods trying to reach that level and attain that, or at least keep up with them.
Also, the chase scene on the bridge.
Oh, mint. Well, not so much for the little guy then, eh? So I love seeing Hawkeye, this older disabled man with this fangirl that will not go away. And everyone's like, it's an Avenger. And he's like, I'm a dude.
Yeah.
He's just a guy. I love it.
He's just a guy, bro. He's just a guy, bro. Okay. Moving up one, we go to Doro Hedoro, the manga specifically. I watched the anime when it came out or whatever, but I'm counting the manga as something completely different because it really is.
The anime did really well. For, a lot of the background art.
Yeah, but I forgot most of it.
Right.
which honestly helped a lot more when I was going into Doro Hedoro and like finding like why I love Shin, because Shin is such a good boy,
man.
or even just Nikaido, because Nikaido is great. I don't know.
What to talk about with Doro Hedoro?
Reading through this, it was an interesting experience. All the little things that happened, chef's kitchen knife and whatnot.
Just casually, hey, this knife that I borrowed from this god can end reality.
Yeah.
Or some shit.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, where is it? I dropped it on the floor like last week.
I also, because it was a series that I was reading that had ended, I think that kind of added a little bit more enjoyment into it, because it really did feel like it had ended on its own terms a little bit. It didn't feel rushed at any stage. It felt kind of decent and continuing on. There were some little dragged on bits about the series, like the amount of times characters fucking die is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah, like... but even just the magic system was cool.
Imagine when people die. What's more depressing is not just the people that die and that can come back, it's people that couldn't.
Yeah.
It'd be very sad, some of their cross eyes.
Or even just Turkey. Someone who was introduced quite early on, and then he comes back in randomly, like in like the final arc. I'm like, what's this man doing? What's he doing here? And then we find out, and then like it's not a baby. And then the other shit that happens with Turkey, I love Turkey. Turkey's great. Or even more Johnson.
Because all the little things they add. The fucking restaurant in like the 30th chapter.
Yeah.
Almost gets Tamba. Almost gets nothing for the next 100 chapters.
And then they just rock up.
And then the chef that literally didn't speak in that restaurant played a major role in the climax of the series. The fuck?
I think one of the aspects I really liked of the series is like following the different sides. Like there were like so many different like people to follow. Whether that was the cross-eyed, whether that was like Shin or whatever, and his little not Shin, N's little gang. Nikaido herself is kind of off on her own sometimes, outside
What
of
was the professor's name?
Oh yeah, the professor. Was it no, the doctor? It's the doctor or Professor Doctor. The doctor who was
It's
hanging.
the same name as Kusakabe.
Ah
Or Kusakabe.
yeah.
Dr. Kusakabe, right?
Hmm.
He I like he just like playing ping pong with the teams. He's like, oh, I'm doing things with you now. Oh, guess I'm over here now. Oh, this is nice.
I also kind of like how the relationship between characters and how they were kind of explored and kind of just how people reacted to each other, whether or not they were doing anything. Like our two main characters together was always great, and I love seeing them kind of apart and doing their own shit as well, and we find out a lot more about them when they're on their own, partially. Or even just Shin and Noi. My favourites.
Bro, the best.
They are the best. They're just the best of friends. I love Shin. I love his power. He was kind of really the OP one in my personal opinion. Because he just broke everything. Or even just all the arcs, the cross-eyed boys. Well, it was interesting learning more. I liked how there was the mystery of stuff. It was a really good series, I think. Which kind of... I don't know how to describe it. It had a lot more, I feel like, seinen-y tropes and themes, while also having that little bit of, like, shonen-esque kind of powers and whatnot into it. It was a very... Like, I feel like it's a little bit of a niche series in terms of
The way it
manga.
handles all these dark tropes and themes and ideas, and also doesn't it has them there, and then these people react so strangely to them.
Also, what our
Because
main
it's just such a wild world.
what our main boy gets at the end, his power with the dumplings,
That's the best shit.
is the best shit ever. I love that. I love it so much. In the photo I chose, you can even see the little dumpling being there, just hanging around.
The Gyoza Fairy.
I really didn't know what to expect because obviously I'd forgotten a lot about what the anime showed me. But for what it was, I thought it was quite great, quite good,
Epic.
quite great.
It's a story which had so many different plot points and ideas and so many different ways it could go in any fucking direction. Went in one you, even with so many things to expect, it went one you didn't expect and still closed every plot point in the series. Actually had a good ending, which didn't leave you going like, the fuck just happened?
Yeah.
Oh, it did, because it's your head her, but it actually, it was a complete story. You didn't leave that confused as to why certain things happen or what's going to happen next, because this is... Because, I don't know, I treasure complete stories more than I do amazing stories with no endings. Because... Or complete stories with just shit endings. Because I think the ending does encapsulate everything that series was meant to be. It was a build-up of what it all was supposed to be. Even if some of the earlier arcs are phenomenal, if it ends poorly, I'm not going to like it as much.
Yeah.
I'll probably still like it because there's early arcs. Oh, man. But to me, it needs to be a whole complete story. Even Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z, even if the last arc did fumble a bit, I still really liked how it ended.
Yeah.
So in no way did Dragon Ball the great lower for me after finishing it, because I thought that ending was just mint. And even if that arc fumbled, it still is everything that series was.
Yeah.
So same with no, Doorhead I didn't fumble at any point, but it actually ended spectacularly with everything. Even though Hayashida was going to at any point could have been cancelled, it ended in 3 chapters. They still managed to have so many plot points intertwined spectacularly and end the way they wanted it to. It's honestly amazing to see how that manga continued with so much shit.
Moving on, we have something very different entirely. We have Grand Blue Dreaming, the live action movie, which I think out of all series, it was one of the most happily unexpected things to be on my list. Because I remember, like, because it was you telling me, like, oh, one of your favorite series got a live action, and then I just go on to watch it, and I loved it. I of course I've seen the anime, and the anime is a little bit forgettable. I'm sorry to say, but it's a little bit forgettable. And then this even this movie got me to read the manga, and the manga art is honestly sometimes ridiculous in how great it is. But I'm not here to talk about the manga. I'm here to talk about the live action, because especially when it comes to live action anime adaptation films, a lot of the time they're not the best.
Yeah.
Of course, there are some really great ones, like a lot of... If there's a samurai involved, a lot of those ones are good. We know Caleb loves his ass class.
Yeah, I reckon it's a great movie. Great love action.
I know the Death Note, like the Japanese Death Note ones are really good. Not the American. The American can go fuck itself.
Never heard of it.
Never heard of it. What's that? What's this? What's that?
They doing a
American
sequel?
Death Note? No, is that like a one shot that the Manga did? He's done a few of those. Was one of them in America? Yeah, one of them had Donald Trump in it.
Yeah.
Is that what you mean?
Yeah, is that what you mean? Is that what they did? I don't know. I don't know, man.
Anyway, live action.
But the live action, I think, it brought so much joy, especially to the nonsensical side of not knowing what the fuck was happening. In those early, like, 30 minutes of them just running around like they did. And doing a lot of crazy, weird shit, and it's just happening over and over again until they finally, like, got in. And even, like, because I could recognize after reading it, all the, like, the little changes they made.
Yeah.
And honestly, Grand Blue became such a highlight for me this year. I probably don't enjoy it as much as Alex does as a series itself.
Men!
But I think I enjoy it more for the characters, and some characters really stood out to me throughout this year. Not all of the characters I love from the series are in the movie, but it's such a good adaptation. It did such a great job for what it was, like the little budget it felt like it had. And because it's a very, like, a little bit of a personal story, and I love, like, all the characters kind of felt like who they actually are in some ways. Like, Iori is such a good boy.
And the absolute highlight for this film, though, for me, reading manga first, is like what you said, the way they adapted all these little things from it, and they grabbed that and they made it that's my favorite fucking adaptation. Not just grabbing it panel for panel and just working with it,
because
it's taking the concepts and the new creators of the adaptation, going like, this is what I think we can. This is how I think we can take the story in a different, interesting direction. Yeah. So the opening of that movie, the first 15-20 minutes, best fucking thing. Yeah. That was the start of the second chapter. You get a lot of context in the manga. None there, worked way better. Yeah. I loved everything the movie did with the way it adapted several plot points in the manga. Yeah. And then the way it had its own ending.
And if it wasn't for Spider-Man, this would be my favorite movie of the year. But
that's fair.
Honestly, I think reigniting I think it's just the unexpected joy I had in it, or even just like you said when after you watched it, the little changes they made between the movie, because obviously the movie is a lot more recent than the manga is. Like with the swimsuits,
the Dali and the Franks.
Yeah, they changed it they changed it from Neon Genesis Evangelion, which is a bit of an older series coming out in the early 90s, and it's still being a very strong and popular series. But they changed those like swimsuits for the girls into the Darling and the Frank suits, which I thought was such a great change.
I may not be a fan of Darling and the Franks, but it was a phenomenal change.
Obviously, one is better than the other. But
of course, fucking Kid
it just fit better, and it felt a lot more.
Fucking loves Darling and the Franks.
Yeah, it definitely did feel a lot better in terms of like. It also feels like if you're going into one of those stores, like a swimsuit store or whatever they were doing, not swimsuit, like more of the diving.
Diving store.
Diving store. or whatever. Because this is all about diving, but it doesn't really give that impression after them learning to dive, all the characters. Just that one girl always coming up to Iori in the beginning, just saying Baka, and then he just gets taken out. And then all the other characters, him waking up next to my favourite character in the series entirely. Oh,
Yep.
Love her. It's such an amazing film that I don't want to talk a lot about because I really do want to show Caleb next that we're all together in terms, and we have time to just watch it together. It's so good.
The other thing about the adaptation I failed to mention, like I said, I like when they take the concepts and take them in direction. I also like when they're able to keep the characters not the same, but keep the spirit of the character and and their role in the story to be the same. So they're the same characters you already know and love. That haven't been taken in any direction. You haven't made them black or gay or whatever.
Yeah.
But you've taken them and they've done something which fits thematically with the character. I like what they did with Faye Valentine in the Cowboy Bebop. They made her gay because that worked. But they took the characters here and they kept their role in the story the same while taking the story in a completely different direction.
Yeah.
Because while I was watching it, I'm like, fuck yeah, it's Iori. Let's fucking go, Bucky. More of my boys, and they did the things my boys would do.
And also that little addition, the addition of how they introduced us to the club itself, and all those little things. Just it felt like the spirit was really alive from the manga, which
absolutely.
Of course that doesn't really happen in the manga. But it brings in the spirit, and I think it's just such a good adaptation that isn't a fucking samurai film, which just made me a little bit more happier.
Love the Pap Boys.
Next on, we're talking about Invincible, the comics, I should say. Like any good cartoon or show, whatever you want to say, the Invincible Amazon series got me through the door of what Invincible was. Now, I enjoyed what it had enough to enter the realm of comics, which is truly where my brain lies. Because if you can't tell from this entire thing, I like reading. And I think Invincible as comics is such a great series. And I think one of the major reasons why I either get burnt out with a lot of other DC or Marvel comics is because there's so many different avenues, there's so many different timelines, so many different things that could happen, or different plot points that kind of gets annoying or boring, or you don't know what the hell's happening. So you do get a little bit of burnt out when you read some comics and you don't know any what this character's doing here because it's in a different comic or whatever. But in terms of Invincible, it really felt like it's like a manga where it is just one story. It is a linear story telling you the story of this guy and his journey throughout Mark and his journey all the way through. Such a normal guy, not normal-ish, but also having a lot more adult themes come into play in the series as well.
Say that again.
You have no fucking clue. I will say that you have no fucking clue. You've only seen the series. You have no clue. It gets as well as finding out, meeting all the characters, noticing all the different things that happened in the thing. Because the big plot twist of episode 1 doesn't happen in comics until the end of the second volume, which is a little bit different. Because at that point he had already met so many other heroes. He'd been really starting his journey to be invincible. I really like how this character itself felt like two DC characters that I loved. Obviously, one being Nightwing and the other one being Superboy. In that way of he has essentially Superboy's kind of powers and whatnot, but also having the I'm not going to live in my father's shadow. I'm not going to be this person. I will be my own man, my own hero, and I will prove it. And becoming such a strong force for good, and even all the little plot twists that happen is so good. And I love how it just has all those comic book tropes as well. and it brings it in, and it's not really all that messy, and it really fits well. And again, it's one of those series that did end on its own kind of terms, and I think it just did a wonderful wrap up of everything, all the events that took place, everything that it could be, and I'm so happy like with it that it's being adapted now, because I really fell in love with this series, especially from the comics itself, to the point that I bought the first 2 volumes essentially as soon as I finished reading the comics, which was a good 2 days binge after finishing the show, which I think I watched a day after it came out, which was still pretty early back then, and just watching all the memes while I was reading the comics. I don't know. It was fantastic. Fantastic. I'm going to question what they're going to do with some things, because obviously changes that they made in the series I think is not as strong as from the comics, like changing one character specifically to be an entirely different person is a bit weird, like we said before with Grand Blue, like even just if you change him to blah blah blah, it doesn't always work, and I think that kind of happened with the series itself. But I don't know, it's so good. I'm going to be very happy when season 2 comes out to reignite my Invincible love. But it was something that I'm not really like up for joy, because obviously I haven't touched it in a while. But no matter what, I think it was always going to make this list, because it was such a big thing that I just kind of fell in love with over this year. Of the
I'm
little
gonna be right back in like a minute or two. Sorry.
That's fine. Next, moving up, we have the one, the only, Dan the Dan. Now, Dan the Dan.
Dan the Dan ham.
No, just Dan the Dan.
Dan
No
the
ham,
Dan
no
ham.
ham.
Got it.
This
Got it.
series is a very new series. Very new. It is from the assistant of someone who became very popular over, I guess, the 2 COVID years, being the creator of Chainsaw Man. And this series does such a great job at... the series itself is actually 18 plus as well, so it can enter those realms of extra things, and it's also shonen as well, so it has a lot of those shonen-y tropes being 18 plus, as well as the themes of it are both like cursed spirit, that magic side of things, as well as having sci-fi and aliens be a big part of the series, and somehow it just works so fantastically well. Like, this series is ridiculously good. It even got nominated for an award, with at the time only having I think 20 chapters, which is kind of a little bit impressive for a series. It was
Dan the Dan we're on?
yeah, Dan the Dan. I'm
Fuck
just
yeah.
saying like how I think it just did such a great job at incorporating both like the magical curse side of things and the sci-fi elements and aliens and whatnot.
Oh,
The
absolutely.
characters, Turbo Granny is so amazing, and I love that there is a character named Turbo Granny. It's been one of my biggest joys out of finding it this year. Alex was the one who was most excited for it, but now I'm clearly a lot more excited about this series
Bro,
than
I
he
fucking-
was.
I was so ready to read that. It had so much going up. And then I read half of it, and I'm like, I'll read the rest later, and it's not later yet, apparently.
Yeah, he also got annoyed because it's like, I've been waiting for this series
I've
to
been
come
waiting
out.
months for this shit, and then you just were like, oh, look, new series.
Oh yeah, oh look, new series. I read it all instantly in the same night. I'm like, oh, amazing! I love it. I really fell in love with the series, the characters. Oh, it's so good, so good, so good, and I can't wait to see what they do next. I don't want to say too much because I think Alex might read it or continue
Well,
reading
I'm
it.
absolutely gonna read that shit
Yeah.
anyway.
Yeah. But damn, I love that series. But sadly, it didn't. It's in my top 3 for the year because the top 3 are just newish manga. Next up, a manga that came out this year, Blue Box.
So,
I love Blue Box. I love Blue Box so much Blue Box is the new shonen romantic series. Kind of that genre. It has that romance thing in it. But it feels
like it's not exactly a romance.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like it's exactly a romance itself. It has two different people doing different sports. It deals with the emotions that people go through, especially in their lives, like Takagi and I forget their names. I'm still not good with the names currently. There are three major characters like Shio, whatever. Yeah, all the different little things. It's like, oh, okay, and I think it really just it pulls at the heartstrings a lot for me while reading it. I think that's one of the biggest things about it. Like, it really, like, it's one that I think I always make this, like, in the Monday reads the last thing I read, because it always pulls at my heartstrings. That's like, oh my god, what are they doing? They're trying to destroy me, because I love this series so much. I really fell in love with it, and it's such a refreshing take on a romance genre, because I love when it's romance isn't just pushed right in your face. There are more things that add to it, and it has that little bit of drama that I enjoy in a series. And it's definitely so refreshing from the previous one that it kind of replaced, which was We Never Learn. This is just such a good series. Oh, I love Blue Box. Obviously, I hope like nothing bad happens to this series. I don't think it will. I think a lot of people are really enjoying it. But either way, it's still relatively new as well. Same with Dan to Dan.
Yeah, but it's already made. It should have already made the cut to stay in. It's not an under 19.
No, definitely not.
The forsaken under 19 hasn't joined it.
No, I don't want it to because I love it.
Well, I can't anymore.
And our final pick is Mashal.
The series we jerk off.
The series we jerk off. That's right. A series I am
You jerk off or jerk off too?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
The series I'm constantly pre-ordering the volumes for. Because that's how much I love the series. Now, Mashal didn't come out
First series I pre-ordered a volume for.
Mashal didn't come out this year. It came out last year. But I made the conscious decision to wait until this series hit chapter 50 to then binge, which chapter 50 was this year. So I really started Mashal this year. So that's why it's on this list and I can talk about it.
I started this year, I'd put it on my list.
Yeah.
But I didn't.
At least I did.
We didn't do this shit last year.
Yes. Mashal. Oh, I think out of all things in Shonen Jump that I read, because it's such a big part of my week to just read the new manga or throughout the weeks, and Mashal's such a great one that it's the one series that always makes me kind of smile and actually laugh out loud. You know, you can laugh on the inside a lot with manga, but I feel like something special is happening if something actually actively makes you laugh out loud, because it's such a good page turner to just laugh your ass off. A lot of the events that happen in it. It's also quite a stereotypical kind of thing that I feel like we've seen partially before, but also taking in its own little style. And especially from buying volumes, even just seeing the author's notes, which just adds so much more to the series. Like, reading it physically is so very different now than ever reading it online. And it was even just, like I said in the last thing, is like, it was the series I reread for the first time when I was like stuck in the hospital. Not because of COVID, I should say that. But either way. And I enjoy this. All the characters in it are so great. And like just me sitting there knowing like what particular characters are going to become. Like the one dorky dumbass who's scared of everything. You know that he's going to step up at some stage and be stronger and better, just like Mashes, but in his own stupid way. Or even the it's just so great to see such a comedic series be something that can be enjoyed on a different level than the other stupid ones that are solely focused on comedy, like Magu-chan or the Roboko.
Me and Roboko.
I think it perfectly encaptures what shonen is, as well as adding a little bit more Western themes in the fact that it is essentially Harry Potter if Harry Potter was strong. Physically. Ridiculously. Also cream puffs. Yes.
Yeah.
I think that's
A lot of comedy comes from subverting expectations, right? This is what you expect is going to happen, and then something goes completely left out of left. Mashal is a series that masters that because you've got this world pretty much the same as Harry Potter.
Yeah.
Right? You got this whole magic school, magic world.
Or a door that
and
just randomly
you know how all these events are supposed to be. But our main character is something so completely separate from this world. It is like if you just got a random character, random series, put it in. You got this, and so this character is moving. Mash. The way he goes through this world is something you never fucking expect in this match. It not only fucks over the characters, but it just completely blows your mind. Things he does. In the very first chapter, this character uses fucking magic spells. He fucking fires these beams at him, and he just whacks them away.
Those mythical blasts that could send dragons scurrying away. This man just volleyballs them.
He fucking volleyball receives it. Right? How the fuck do you... It's not something you expect. And then he picks up a wand. He's like, wait, doesn't just fucking whack away spells? He can use a magic wand? What's he gonna do? What are spells he gonna do? I'm gonna put up a magic shield just in case. He throws the fucking wand. He eats the fucking thing.
He eats it.
So his spell to make sure that no magic can get... doesn't fucking work, because there's no magic. He's eaten. At 100 miles per hour. That's the first chapter. It gets way better because he actually does get a wand. And the way he uses that wand.
Oh, that wand is the best thing ever.
Fuck. You said to me, like, this chapter, Mash uses his wand. Oh, I know where... I was wrong. I was so wrong. Cannot fucking believe some of the shit that what's his fucking... I don't care. The manga does. Well, this shit.
Hajime Komoto.
That's the one. It's how you're supposed to do comedy. You're supposed to subvert expectations, and he gives us all these expectations, and then he drops this fucking idiot with muscles, and is like, be free.
I love it so much.
It's one of the only two series which is able to consistently make me laugh every chapter.
Yeah.
But the one, thank you, Grand Blue.
Oh well. I think that's it for my series.
Oh, Mashal, man.
Well, now we should move on. And because Caleb hasn't talked for a while... Now, here you go, Caleb. Here you go.
There's very little I can talk about.
Yeah, I know. Here you go, Caleb. Here you go. Here you go. Your turn.
Right. I'm going to do the classic pattern. Yeah, so Pirates of the Caribbean, I sort of did it because the only reason I watched it is because, you know, Sea of Thieves had the crossover. And I thought, okay, might as well. And turns out it was actually pretty good. I will say...
Which ones did you watch?
All of them.
Yeah, I haven't seen the fifth one yet. Which I've told I don't even need to.
The fifth one was... I think the fifth and fourth one weren't the best.
Fourth one had a lot going for it, but not as good as the first three.
The first three was a real trilogy.
The first one was really good.
The first
primarily
three were really
the
good.
First three, yeah,
But the first one I really loved more than all of them.
I think the reason it was so good is because, you know, I mean, you know, like, Jack's the main character, but in that first episode, the way he's portrayed is you don't really know if he is a good person or not. You don't really know.
He's not the main character. William's the main character.
No, that's true. Yeah.
He's a secondary character as a supporting role. But I think
he's sort of like the poster boy. I should say.
He's the poster boy.
and you don't know whether he can be trusted. You don't know whether you don't know where his goals are. You don't know who he's actually proper aligning himself with until the very end, when you see where his intentions and all the actions he's been taking, where that leads. And the later ones, they're still good, but I think they lost that because you've already seen his character. So
Yeah.
you already sort of know, okay, he is obviously on the side of Will.
Yeah.
And was Elizabeth?
Yeah.
Yeah, Elizabeth. So you can sort of
Elizabeth.
predict. You can better predict, but the first one, it was much harder to, which I very much enjoyed. I very much like it when characters are ambiguous, when you don't really know what their intentions are. And yeah, when you're not sure.
What happened to the
about that,
booze?
Where's the rum gone?
Where's the rum gone?
It was also funny at times.
Them being stuck on there.
Which is always nice.
Yeah.
The when he's in the I think it's in the third one, when he's in that like realm, and
Yeah, third one.
he just sees the ship. These crabs are just lifting the ship, and it's just going past, and he's just looking at it, just utterly confused as to why his ship is fucking moving on the back of crabs. And that gift that always gets sent, that scene. I found that very funny.
Barbosa.
Barbosa, but yeah, Barbosa by far was the best character. He just, I sort of like those pirates, right? And Blackbeard from Assassin's Creed was like that as well, where it's just sort of almost stereotypical pirate, but also not too stereotypical, if that makes sense. They have an aura of intimidation where they're someone you don't want to mess with, and they sort of feel dangerous even though they don't have much. And that's part of the reason I didn't like Blackbeard in Pirates of the Caribbean, like their Blackbeard, because
that wasn't Blackbeard.
It felt like his intimidation was his sword and his power.
Part of it also felt
himself.
Part of it also felt because from an audience you're looking at Blackbeard. It's like, who the fuck doesn't know who Blackbeard is? And from the audience point of view, it's like, oh, it's
Exactly.
Blackbeard. This is Blackbeard. I thought it was meant to be a lot more.
Yeah.
Cutthroat and whatnot and that kind
Exactly. Yeah. Like Barbosa felt like he has no problems with killing you. He has no problems with being a pirate. Not that Blackbeard didn't feel like that, but he felt much more intimidating. He's just his persona. Meanwhile, I felt like Blackbeard, they were banking too much on his sword and ship than the I think his ship as well was very over the top. Wasn't a big fan of it.
The Black Pearl.
But yeah, the first three films are the best. In my opinion, it's 1, 3, 2, and then 4 and 5 are kind of
Davy Jones Locker.
Davy Jones, I mean, he was cool, but I felt like, I think I still prefer Barbosa as sort of the villain. I never really, Davy Jones never. Oh man, never spoke to me. He's got a cool theme though. His theme's sick as. But
even just
the music in general is fucking mad. The music they did well.
Even Jack's just introduction when he's just the ship is sinking and he just like on the top and he just hops onto the dock.
Casually just.
And even all these fights where like, he's setting everything up. Do you know what I mean? He's doing all this. The fights are just very active. There's a lot to them, which they're quite satisfying to watch. Which I'll give it that. Though I mean, it's all Pirates of the Caribbean. It's all the way down here because I sort of didn't think of anything else, and I didn't want to double up too much. because I didn't want to double up on like having two of one thing. So yeah. Anyway, that's Pirates of the Caribbean. Next is Dragon Force. I probably won't spend too much time on this simply because it's music, and music is a bit hard to sort of say why music is good. It's because it's subjective, but basically they're a power metal band, and I like some of their songs, and there's some of the songs are really cool and really awesome to listen to, especially when I'm playing Halo. When I'm playing Halo, they fit perfectly.
I've never heard
yeah.
this group.
Yeah. Yeah. I can't really say much else other than their music's sick. It's very it's I suppose it's very epic sounding, if that makes sense. It's very something you would play on an adventure, a very metal adventure, if that makes sense. Where you're fighting demons and all that, and their songs tend to have like fighting and killing demons and monsters and shit, lifting curses and all that. Their lyrics often have those themes, which is quite cool. But yeah, other than that, I can't really talk much else.
Okay, fair enough.
No Way Home, on the other hand.
Okay, no.
Okay.
Spoilers.
Oh yeah, no,
Spoilers.
we haven't seen it. Tough luck. Loki was on this before No Way Home came out. I saw No Way Home and I'm like, I can't lie. Sorry, I can't not put it. In my opinion, the best MCU film they've made. I think that in some way it was its own Endgame. In a way, I mean, obviously it didn't have all the characters that Endgame had, and it didn't have this. It didn't have all that, but I mean, let's be honest. It was set up for like almost 20 years. Like its story was the culmination of Tobey Maguire's run from that to now. It was all that, which I thought was amazing because not only did they take the characters, but they also made them feel like they were still the characters. They didn't just say, here's the old actors, but there's the Spider-Man. No, those were the old Spider-Man. Those were them. Because their characters, their character and their personality, what they stood for and things that happened to them was still very present. Andrew Garfield, you saw the aftermath of Spider-Man 2, and because obviously he didn't get a third film, in a way that was not his third film because there's talks of him getting a third film, but that was something building onto his character. That was something giving him more and developing him more. It wasn't he wasn't just there to be there. He was also there as his character. And if we ever do get a third film, I at least hope that plays into him in some way, and that does affect him in some way. I mean, as much as I love Tobey Maguire, and I think the reason he didn't get as much as Andrew Garfield is because obviously he had a third film, but I think Andrew Garfield just stole it. He was found fucking fantastic in there, from that scene when he rescued MJ, almost as a redeeming factor. Like he was able to succeed in that and stop Tom Holland's Spider-Man from undergoing the same thing he went through. And then even Toby did almost the same thing, where he stopped Tom Holland's Peter from killing Green Goblin and becoming a murderer like he had. Especially when
it was Green Goblin that killed Aunt May.
Yes,
he killed the one that killed. He thought he killed at least.
Yes.
No, he killed who he thought killed Uncle Ben.
Yeah, and obviously
fucking spectacular.
Osborn wasn't as culpable because it was Goblin side, if that makes sense. So there was which I thought was fantastic, and even the villains, Dr. Octopus was fucking fantastic in it. Osborn was great in it. I will say I probably felt Sandman perhaps was silent a little bit. I felt like he
was absolutely.
Oh, the lizard, true. He barely did
I
anything.
think
But
what happened there is because they took not only the most popular villain, also the actors. That's why Jamie Foxx was more was there more because it was Jamie Foxx. Sure. And obviously Willem Dafoe and Doc Ock, incredibly iconic villains. So those three are the ones that got the most attention.
Yeah, that's true.
Whereas I was incredibly disappointed when Kurt Connors, after turning back to human, had like nothing. He did. Also, Sun Marker had like a line.
Also, Sandman didn't really die. He just became one with the wind.
Well, we don't know if
But I felt like his problem wasn't.
To be dead.
I think his problem though wasn't more. He wasn't worried about him dying.
No.
He was more worried about like. I interpreted it as he was more worried about Osborn Osborn and Octavius, not dying. I figured that he actually wanted them to go back. He wanted to go back.
Yeah.
And which I felt was interesting in to some extent, that there was obviously that all the villains weren't just on the same side.
And why would they? They have different motives and different reasons for being there. Obviously, Jamie Foxx's Electro was fascinated with how heightened that world's technology is compared to his own, and found ways to use that to his own.
Oh, when he got the arc reactor,
yeah.
I thought, sick as. Like, why wouldn't he go for one?
Is something I felt was amazing in that film, aside from the references. You know, I'm somewhat of a scientist myself. It's these all these films, Spider-Man 1, 2, 3, Amazing Spider-Man 1 and 2, they were going to get sequels. There was going to be a Spider-Man 4, and Mysterio and Electro and the Vulture. They had every intention of making Spider-Man 3, and then Disney happened. So the end of those films, Spider-Man 3 and Amazing Spider-Man 2, were open-ended. Their character arcs were complete in those films, but there is still more that could have been explored. So No Way Home was a film that was able to complete those arcs. It was able to give these characters more concrete and even happier endings. Because at this now, Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man actually doesn't have let Osborn die. He doesn't let Doc Ock die. He's able to save the people that his regrets for his entire life. That's been able to be concluded. And Amazing Spider-Man, Andrew Garfield, his conclusion with dealing with grief, dealing with helping Tom Holland's Spider-Man get through everything. Point is, their arcs are now concluded. They feel like more complete characters. So whilst I'd love to see more Andrew Garfield as Spider-Man, it'd be a shame to take those characters to do more with them when you've just got this film to complete their character arcs.
That's very true.
It's also one thing, like adding onto that, like especially with the whole what the movie entirely was about was like growing up and moving forward with your life. It added that to it with these two completed Spider-Men that the audience would probably know. And if you don't know,
Tough shit.
Who the audience should probably know, and then add to that where it's like they're showing Tom Holland's Spider-Man who he needs to become and guiding him through a tough time and stepping up into a greater role of being his own hero that these two people were able to do on their own. They didn't get help. They didn't have like another superhero to kind of guide them. They don't know who the fuck the Avengers are. They think it's a band. They are the only heroes in their world, and they had to learn from scratch. But it's nice to see that Tom Holland had all the education. He had people around him. He had people who loved him, and then had these two other people who had gone through similar experiences and potentially sometimes worse. Like Andrew Garfield's deal was all about grief, of course, losing a lot of people in his films. Even having just Toby be there, like, what happened to my best friend? He went evil and tried to kill me, and he died. And it just added so much more to the film, and to what the film or the next film will mean moving forward with Spider-Man, especially at the end with him creating his own suit, finally stepping back out of anyone's shadow, whether that be Iron Man, because like people saying, oh, Spider-Man's going to be the next Iron Man. No, he is his own hero. And I think that's the real push I really loved for this film. As well as being such a huge Doctor Octopus fan. I love Doc Ock so much. And he was so good in the movie.
Oh, speaking of actors, Willem Dafoe. It's arguable to say that in Spider-Man 1, that Green Goblin was a better character, because that was an actual...
That was like a mirror thing and actual proper character.
However, Willem Dafoe's performance in No Way Home was fucking phenomenal. Holy shit. His performance alone makes him, for me, a better character in No Way Home than in Spider-Man 1.
That scene where Tom Holland walks out and his spider sense is just going nuts. It is going off. And then when he confronts Osborn about it and him in Green Goblin mode just unveils it. Willem Dafoe's acting in that scene was fucking phenomenal. It gave it almost a creepy atmosphere when that happened. Oh, and almost a dangerous impending doom almost, which of course it fucking was. I thought that was fucking excellent. I think all of them really did a fantastic job.
The way they didn't treat the other Spider-Men like just doppelgangers, they treated them like family.
Yeah. And even all their interactions. I mean, that's another thing. I mean, Marvel films are sort of known for their bits of comedy, and their interactions were very funny. When Toby asks, what are the web shooters? And they're like, these are my web shooters, don't you have them? And he just flexes. He just flexes and just shoots them normally.
Do they come out of anywhere else?
Shocked.
Can you get that spider in the corner?
Yeah.
Hey, Peter? Yep. Peter in the lab coat. Yep.
Okay, Peter Parker. Yep.
Yep. So what happened? What does and Ned goes up. Does your Peter Spider-Man have? Do you have like a man in the chair? You know, the guy your best friend. It's like, yeah, he tried to kill me. What?
Oh yeah. By the way, I have
promise I'm
wizard
not gonna
powers
try and
now. And even the other characters like Strange and Ned and all the ways they sort of
Doctor
push the
Strange.
story.
Poor Strange.
Wong is the Sorcerer Supreme.
He left him in the mirror dimension, and I'm like, are you fucking joking? That is a death sentence. That's the only way to get out. He got out because Ned was like, I need Doctor Strange, please. Because if you are in a mirror dimension without a fucking sling ring, you are never fucking getting out. Unless someone else comes with their sling ring to come get you.
I mean, he didn't not intend to get him out. He just.
How was he gonna do that?
Ask Wong.
Yeah, probably.
That kid would have fucking forgotten.
Wong the Sorcerer Supreme.
That was amazing, by the way. Because of some technicality, Wong is a Sorcerer Supreme, and Strange is right there, living in Wong's house. Oh, it's mint.
Then
I rewatched Shang-Chi like the other day. So now watching that film, knowing that the Wong is fighting in underground fights as the Sorcerer Supreme was amazing. He's pulling out convicts, Hulk level, Avengers level convicts from prison just so they can fight in a ring. As the Sorcerer Supreme. Great, amazing, love it.
As well as, like I usually say, I think one problem with a lot of MCU films is the villains and a lot of them being very forgettable, but no way am I going to forget any of these performances anytime soon.
I mean, they weren't even forgettable before the film. And now they're going to be more remembered. Oh yeah, no, true, Electro. But Green Goblin and Dr. Octopus. I mean, there was a reason. Those were the first two to be like teased in the trailer. Like, those are the ones that I think people remember more.
Or even them talking, like the three, like you said, interactions before, like them talking about the people that they've fought. Like, oh, I fought the purple alien. I fought a goo alien. I fought a rhino.
No, but you're amazing.
It's so good. Love that scene. Peter, my boy, you've grown up. How are you? Trying to do better. Mint.
There you go. There you go. There you go.
Fucking.
Okay, I'll tell you what. I feel like they were sort of, because the scene where Electro goes, I thought Spider-Man would be black. I was thinking about that. I'm thinking, does that mean they're going to put Miles Morales in here at some point?
Probably.
Homecoming had Morales' uncle show up.
Yeah.
Ah, yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't know. Okay.
It was I forgot his actor name, so we're gonna call him Childish Gambino. Donald Glover, that's his name.
Yeah.
He was there. He had his hand webbed. He was fuck. You
Oh,
remember
was that
Spider-Man?
him?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
The one that goes like Spider-Man. You've never interrogated anyone before. Donald Glover's such a good actor.
Okay, I didn't realize that was him.
His nephew
realize that was him.
is would be Miles Morales if they decide to pursue that.
But
Oh,
I assume in this
They've already got the
world
character there.
that Miles Morales is quite young.
But now that they've sort of acknowledged that character is at least within this world, that a parallel world would be able to have it.
Yeah.
Not that they couldn't have him in
Obviously,
the
like
parallel
they could
world
also
anywhere
do
regardless, but...
they could also do Spider-Gwen and stuff like that.
Yeah, true.
And a lot of other different Spider-Men. Because all these three Spider-Men are essentially the same character, but have gone through different experiences in their life. But they're the same person.
Yeah.
Like what you have the first one that chose the reporter route. You have the second one who chose the more sciencey route, and then you have the one who's still trying to find out what he wants to be.
I feel like now he'll probably start to be, because I feel like Tobey Maguire's one, he was already like an adult.
Yeah.
When in his one, so him being a reporter, him being a photographer, that was already like something he could do because obviously already an adult.
Also one.
So I think he'll start to do it now.
Also, Alex, one thing that I really enjoyed from the movie was seeing Flash and how he treated Peter and whatnot, and that gave me hopes for Agent Venom.
I'm not sure how they would do Agent Venom.
But still, I like the
Venom's
growth
here
in
now.
the character.
Venom's in the MCU now.
But Agent Venom is a very different scenario, which I'm not sure how they would handle that.
See, I like Flash in the MCU because it's a modern version of what a bully would be.
Yeah.
But as far as adaptations of comic books go and where they could take what Flash done in comics, absolutely awful. Yeah. I don't care about that. Fuck the comic books. I love what they've done with Flash. The actor's doing amazing. But no, and fuck. Where was I going with this sentence? No, I really like what the MCU this version of a because you can't physically. This Spider-Man can lift like 10 fucking.
Yeah.
Right. No bully's gonna be able to bully him effectively.
Yeah.
Unless you're a fucking cunt.
Yeah.
And you call him Penis Parker, which is much more accurate to modern bullying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is also one thing that I always like get annoyed at in like other films and stuff, especially nowadays where it's like, oh, the bullying, they're just picking and pushing and punching at each other. Thinking, that's not bullying. That's not bullying.
The film is written by adults that are portraying bullying as they remember.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, for a modern day high school setting, it's just not how.
No.
So I appreciate these films doing that right, or doing it in a way that makes a bully effective. Not particularly a very good Flash Thompson, but a very. But still, I love Flash Thompson.
They also added a bit of like. I guess not. I don't want to say tragedy. That's a very strong word, but I guess that like Flash felt a bit more like he had a character.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. Like because he makes all these videos and he obviously in my Spider-Man is.
Which is something that has always been true to comic books. Flash. He loves Spider-Man.
There's like it feels like there's a darker side to this character that like he obviously does all this stuff to cover that up, Meanwhile, Toby's Flash and Andrew's Flash felt a bit more two-dimensional than one-dimensional.
Yeah.
But the Toby's Flash was just a dickhead.
They're trying to do something with Andrew's Flash.
Yeah,
They didn't pursue it much.
No.
But you know when Uncle Ben died, Flash was one of the only to go
Yeah.
go up to Peter and say, "Are you all right?"
Yeah.
Or try to at least.
Yeah.
So that was nice.
Yeah. And now no
They
one
tried
has
to
fucking
release.
clue who Peter is.
And that's honestly one of my favorite fucking things about this film.
Mm.
'Cause once again, one of my favorite things about Spider-Man is that when Spider-Man wins, Peter Parker loses. Peter Parker fucking lost everything, just so he could save the world.
And although his love didn't die, sometimes it can be argued not being remembered can hurt more. Although there is obviously the chance that he can go back to MJ. It's also interesting to see how MJ and Ned were still friends.
Would he go? He said he promised them.
Yeah.
He'd go back to them.
Yeah.
But he didn't, because if he makes those connections, they can die.
Yeah.
They could be liable to be in danger.
Yeah.
They almost did die earlier in that film.
Yeah.
So he's sacrificing his entire social life, his friends, all his memories, just so he can protect them.
Mm. Which definitely
that.
does feel like a giant Spider-Man move.
Like what?
Like a giant Spider-Man move in terms of the comics. Yeah. It feels like that would be something he would do, and just seeing like that suit at the end, it really gets me excited to see what's gonna happen next, and we get to see a little bit more of an ingenuitive Spider-Man. Who,
as much as I think 9 Spider-Man films are overkill, cannot wait for them.
In a way, I also felt like he's doing that forgetful thing in a way was sort of like his own snap.
Yeah. And
in a way, he wasn't becoming Iron Man, but he was surpassing Iron Man in a sort of being a good person or being a hero, if that makes sense. Because for Tony in Endgame, it was about him sacrificing, and he didn't want to sacrifice himself, but then he eventually did, and that's him becoming a hero, a true hero. Peter Parker, it was the same thing. He did not want to sacrifice. And initially, it was about people forget who I am except these people. And it was him being unable to choose between which life he wanted to live. But at the end, him choosing and essentially snapping himself, fixing everything with this one action, but sacrificing himself at the same time, or sacrificing what he didn't want to lose. Him doing that allowed him to actually choose what life he wanted to live, or he needed to live, and to pursue that, and to become the hero through that, which I thought was a fucking fantastic way to at least end this particular trilogy and this trilogy.
As well as having Iron Man Homecoming even state that I don't want you to be me, I want you to be better.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Fucking fantastic film.
I'm gonna go get a drink real quick.
You know what scene I really love though?
After I listen to this?
I love the scene because when Doc Ock first appears, it's like when Doc Ock first appears, he's just there like, Peter, and then he gets his own legs and he's like, what the fuck? We have competition.
That was beautiful. Yeah, that was a beautiful scene.
We should move on before this stream just
Yeah,
becomes
yeah,
a Spider-Man stream.
yeah. Alright, next up. So this spot was, I put Seven Wonders, but this was more of an avenue to talk about a grander thing I got into this year, and that was board games. No, it's not like I've never played a board game before, but I got more into the niche of board games.
Ones that like people like that say, "Oh, I'm going for a board games night," and it's a lot more nerdier and kind of
Board games that aren't
Monopoly.
Monopoly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or the
And-
stereotypical board games that you think of.
What I miss?
I put
We're just
Seven
moving on
Wonders.
to board games.
Seven Wonders.
Epic.
Seven Wonders I put is simply because it's out of the ones I've played is my favorite
Oh, I love Seven Wonders as well.
board game, but there's sort of exceptions that come later on. But yeah, it's so far it's my favorite. And I to be honest, I just love these board games in general that I've been able to discover. The rules are really interesting. They have, I mean, some of them are quite complex, some of them are not, and they feel like they have a bit more player choice to them. I feel like the problem with Monopoly is it's very much a roll the dice and see what happens. The only real strategy is, do I buy this or do I not buy it?
Yeah.
That's it. That is literally it. Do I buy or not buy?
Birds.
Other than that, it's just rolling.
Birds.
Few Birds, Seven Wonders.
Birds.
There's a lot more choice to it. There's, it's
I feel like the
what
highlight.
cards you place.
Yeah. Seven Wonders, Q-Birds, and Tokaido
Oh,
are all
Tokaido,
games that I think we all
Yeah,
really enjoyed and played a lot.
Tokaido was great.
There's the potion one.
Pandemic.
Yeah.
Pandemic. Fuck a pandemic.
Pandemic.
Pandemic can get old quick, but before that, it's very good.
You just want to win. That's the only thing. You just want to win.
Yeah.
And also, maybe because I just won the first time I ever played it, but I love Chinese checkers.
Chinese checkers is cool. Very simple. Very simple.
I haven't played that till early this year.
But yeah, I found them all quite enjoyable, and I've always liked board games, but I've always felt like Monopoly. Well, one, Monopoly was very long sometimes.
Yeah.
And two, it also didn't. It was got a bit exhausting. But the other games we've found and we've played, they're very fun. It's always fun to find a game and figure out how to play and be like, this is alright. This is quite fun. And yeah, they're good. They're cool. I think the reason I like Seven Wonders specifically, and I think why I like what some board games, what I like about them is to be able to create something. I like Tokaido because it's this journey along this Japanese road, and it's good to see like, oh, these are all the things I did, and this is my journey that I've taken. Seven Wonders, this is my civilization I've created. That even if I lose, it's like, but this is something I made. This is my little civilization. Wingspan, here are the birds I have. Q-birds, here are these birds I have. I just like it when there's sort of those experiences, as well as obviously.
What was that? That road building game? Like at the end was like a whole map that we made.
Oh.
Carcassonne?
Do not remember the name at all.
It was the one where you put tiles down and you add people to the tiles.
The one that I was just trying to mess around with.
Yeah, Carcassonne.
Yeah, I like that one because at the end it's like, look what we did.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, these are our cities. These are roads. It's just nice that we've made something by the end of it. And, I mean, of course, the other game on this list, or games on this list, not to downplay them too much, except one of them. The one at the top of this list, not to downplay it too much, but I like how the design of some games where, you got this board and you're making shit that you can actually see and all that, which I think has a bit of a charm to it. And especially like things like Carcassonne and all that. Design is a big part of the board game as well. How the game looks is a massive part, which it's always nice to see it. Especially because one of the games I got, Wingspan, they had this little dice tower that they give you, and it's a little birdhouse, and it's just really nice. It's just a little birdhouse. You put the dice in, and the dice come out, and the dice look cool because they're sort of wooden dice that are big on it, and then the boards, the player mats you have, they're like books. They're like, when you open them, they're cool. They're really cool. Yeah. So yeah, I've been quite enjoying getting into the board games. Yeah. Does anyone else have anything they want to add?
But
Board game. Bird is all right. Next, we have Yuck.
Is that a restaurant?
Yeah.
Yuck.
Yeah, well, that's something we all, well, two of us finished this year. One already finished it ages ago. And it was great. It was cool. It's a great little series.
Yeah.
A great series. There's a lot of fantastic characters in it. We've already sort of made an entire video about
Entire
it.
stream worth.
Yeah.
About this niche little series.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I quite enjoyed reading it. I quite enjoyed Eisen.
I quite enjoyed other men.
Yeah. Yeah.
I quite enjoyed voice acting.
That's true. And because that was the first one we sort of started doing our little voice acting thing with, that made us.
Which was we intended to be like in person. Might as well do this exercise, and then we just stuck with it.
Yeah. Which was.
Which I'm kind of glad we did because I find it so fun.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
When you know what your voice wants to be and you well enough.
Like I remember like
there's some characters we just don't know. So
yeah. So with Bleach, because I've seen the anime, I've seen how like the English and Japanese like do the voices, and just hearing them like pull out this random Scottish accent for this character who in my brain has this distinct voice, or even me just copying what other voice actors did to create, and like Caleb just coming to me, you just copied Mayuri.
That was like no difference. But then I thought it was funny because like I hadn't watched. Well, I had, but I hadn't gone too far with it. So many of the characters I just didn't know what they sounded like. I quite like that actually when I don't know, because it just means I can do whatever I want. When it comes to characters I do know what they sound like, I think I just subconsciously try to mimic them.
Yeah.
Which I don't know. I find it more fun just to make up my own voice for whoever. Just I don't know. I find it funner.
I died too many times.
So I get to add whatever I want to them.
I've been sneezing like a motherfucker, and there are no tissue boxes in my room.
Get a tissue box. I have tissue box next to me. Here, I'll get a tissue for you. Go like this.
I'll be back in a minute.
I got tissue. He doesn't want the tissue.
So anything else you have to say about Bleach? It was kind of hard. We have an entire video on it.
Yeah. I mean, with Bleach in particular, it's one of those things that also...
Stone, tissue box acquired.
It's also the fact that Bleach is coming back, and that was really a big thing for me this year as well, is getting that new chapter of Bleach, to know that like Bleach is coming back for a final arc.
After several years, they get a one-shot. We read it after minutes.
And then, then the anime's coming out soon, which...
Yeah, the final arc, which can explore a lot more of what happens in the final arc, and I think is going to be stretched out a bit more.
Yeah.
Because obviously the ending of Bleach was a little bit rushed because of illness.
That's fair enough. That's fair enough. Fair enough.
Also, it's going to be very exciting to see Bleach coming back finally with this graphics, with 2021's graphics. It's going to be
it looks like the same kind of design and style as Akudama Drive. It's for Caleb and people who don't know. It was made last year. Was it last year? Yeah, 20.
I think so.
Cyberpunk anime.
Yeah.
And as far as Studio Pierrot animation goes, holy shit.
Yeah.
Because you'll see if you watch your Naruto, your Black Clover, times the animation's really poor or sloppy. It can get really high, but it can also Akudama Drive and its visually and animation. Holy shit!
Yeah.
Nothing I would have expected from Pierrot.
Nope.
So I'd recommend any fans of Bleach who want to watch the new anime. Nothing like Bleach, but you'll get to see what it could look like.
Yeah. But I'm also a
Because after
manga
watching that trailer,
supremacist, so read manga.
Yeah, read that first. I don't know why I'm excited for the new anime, because I haven't watched the first one. I've read all of it, and I'm excited for more anime, but I'm not bothered enough to watch the other one.
Because it's long. It's long as fuck. Effort.
Well, if we have no more comments for Bleach, Bleach,
Yeah.
it's other one. This was very recent.
I have no clue what it is.
So this is Warhammer 40,000. Why did I get into it? What sparked me? I don't even fucking remember.
You saw
I think
funny robot men.
I think I was just curious as to what it was, and I looked up some videos. And I'm like, this is pretty cool. I'm gonna buy a few models, and I bought a few models, started painting. I'm like, this is actually pretty fucking fun. So now I'm into it, I guess. But basically, what
That's how it goes.
is at its core, it's like a tabletop game. Where you buy these models, then they come in these pieces. You build them like grown-up Lego, essentially,
Gundam.
and then you can like.
Lego is ranged from like ages 1 to 99.
Yeah.
You telling me this is
Fair
more
enough.
grown up than Lego? This is 100. This is for 100-year-olds.
Yeah.
Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah.
Aren't you a little bit young to be playing with?
I know. Of course. But yeah, they're generally more complicated when you're building them and all that. But the instructions are very similar to Lego, I find. But yeah, it's a tabletop game, and you build them, then you can play them using a set of rules, or you can just have them because they look nice. But then there's also this like massive lore. There's like countless novels and games and shit about this lore that's expansive as fuck, and is extremely dark and horrific and all that shit. But so far I haven't gone really far into the lore. But the little bit I've seen is actually pretty cool. It's very, very bloody, very, 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 very dark. But the model making part of it, I've been enjoying quite a bit. I bought a set where it just has a few guys, and then I bought a tank, which I've sort of finished. I'll probably do a bit more with the paint, but so far it's pretty much finished. But yeah, I've not properly played it yet. I want to get around with it, but the gameplay's pretty. The gameplay does look pretty good. It's just a bit complicated, and the hobby in general is very expensive if you want to go far into it. But yeah, it's cool. Very. Yeah, again, a very recent thing. I didn't even know. I didn't even expect myself to really get into it. I just thought I'd give it a go, and now it turns out my wallet is gonna hate me.
More than it already does.
Yeah, true. Yeah, not much else I can talk about it other than cool thing, cool stuff. Mega Man. Now, technically, I first played 2 of the games a few years ago, but I got more into it and played more of the games this year, so that's why it's on the list here. Basically, the reason I got more into them is because I feel like the gameplay is sort of up my alley, in the sense that I like the gameplay loop of you go in, you fight things, and then you beat the boss, and then you get their powers, and then you use these powers to beat other bosses, and certain bosses are weak to certain powers, and then by the end of it, you've literally got an arsenal of different weapons and different gadgets to help you get through the level, and I just love it. I just enjoy it. I find a lot of the time my favorite like classes and all that are classes that have a lot of versatility and have a lot of you can have different weapons, you can transform, do all this shit. Um, which is I think one of the reasons I like Mega Man so much. I still haven't played any more of X3, which is naughty of me. I need to play more of that. Um, but yeah, so far I've played up to was it 7 or 8? I think it was 8, and X1 to X3. But I've been meaning to get back onto it and to play a bit more. But yeah, was a fun thing to get into this year. Um, very fun game, very good. I can understand why it's a very popular franchise. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
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 Next one. Now this one I haven't finished. I mean, a lot of them I haven't finished, but this one is I think the only like series that is here, like TV series thing that I haven't finished. But I needed to put it here anyway because so far I am fucking loving it. And again, if it continues the way it is going, it will be my favorite series of all time. Because I fucking love that this is not a world, seemingly it's not a world that is too special. Other than, everyone got turned to stone. But it is just, it doesn't seem like there's not really a magic system. There's not really, yes, hookah, ba but the magic is the tech. The magic is the science. You have this smart as fuck cunt just waking up and being like, we're gonna make a phone now. It's like,
Yeah.
what? How the fuck are you gonna make a phone? He fucking does it. And it's always interesting to see what the next step is. It's always interesting to see how he's going to go about doing things and how trying to get to the goal he ends up developing other things, right? Like developing the water. Well, Senku didn't develop the water. Well, fucking Chrome did, and seeing how Senku's um Senku's science, which he has taught Chrome and shown Chrome, and how Chrome is taking the torch and running with it and creating his own stuff. That which is what science is. Science is an extremely collaborative effort. It is not something that one single person is responsible for. Countless people are responsible for countless aspects of science and countless technologies and inventions and findings. And to see this person who initially thought it was sorcery to come now and say, no, it's science, and this is what I have made, even though it was invented before, to see him invent it without any real other influence as to what it was, to see him just think it, is amazing to see that, and to see these technologies and the way they get around things, and the way that these technologies within this world are offering them advantages and allowing them to do things that just we take for granted, like information, right? The ability to just call someone, the ability to just talk to someone,
Yeah.
the ability to just have music playing. It's honestly fantastic, and I love the way they do things. I often love normal things seeming greater than they actually are, even though it's not really that hyperbolic, right? When you look at these things in Doctor Stone, where, oh my god, he's doing sorcery, and it looks like so amazing. It looks like it's an exaggeration, but it's not an exaggeration.
He's just
It's
making ramen.
just it's just ramen. It's shit. It is shit. But to them,
Just
it's
fucking
like
ramen he's had.
this is the best thing I've ever fucking had, because they've never had anything better than that. They've just had fucking shit fish, and I fucking just love. I just love seeing them go through the technology and seeing what they'll make next and how they make it and how they'll make the thing that they need to make this and how they'll make that thing to make it this thing and that. In a way, it sort of reminds me of like survival games where you've got to make like tech from all this shit. But in a way, this is more interesting because you're actually seeing all the processes and you're seeing him innovate.
Yeah.
And make all these things to make these things. But them also leading to, like, sometimes the things he makes to make these things aren't just there to make these things, but can also serve another purpose. For example, the fairy floss machine.
Exactly.
I mean, he needed that to do stuff, but it's also there to make also fairy floss, which adds something else to the society, which is just fantastic. And yeah, even though we're not, I don't think we're even over halfway.
Oh,
But
no.
no. But like, even here, it's like if it continues the way it's going, it will become my favorite series of all time because I fucking love how the author just does all this shit and
But
how
there's one scene in particular, which I'll tell you when it happens, but I'm not gonna obviously explain it to you too much. But the way everything that's happened up to that point, all the knowledge they've gained, the way they're able to use that effectively to do what they do. I'll DM Ethan exactly that moment.
Okay.
It's just the pinnacle of what this series can do. It's the way all this knowledge is built up, things that are done, how that culminates into how science can relate to other things. Because, like you said, with the fairy floss scene and many other examples, you could use one thing for one purpose, and then you can recycle. You can take this and implement it into other ways. This is how science grows. That's how Chrome made the water. He took these concepts from Senku. Senku didn't even try to, and he's like, I've got a brilliant idea, and he invented the water wheel. The way that happens further in the series, the way that it increases in scale, and the way that all these other characters can see how these processes work and implement them themselves. There's one thing Taiju does. Taiju learns something. It's the best thing.
oh my god,
Right?
oh my god,
It's such a
Impossible.
smart minor. It's like it was literally like a tiny speech bubble in a vaguely medium-sized panel. But it was I love the series so much for just those little details of all these characters learning and also innovating from experience. Because it's science. It's a process. It's innovation, and they are all learning to go through it. And they can see that Senku fucking Gen lost his fucking marbles when he wanted to make electricity right after making ramen. Like what? Because it's just a fucking magnet, right? With the lightning.
Yeah.
And I love because there's I don't like coincidences in series. When things just happen to work out that way. That never happens in Doctor Stone. So much so that every character is like, Senku, you have the worst fucking luck on the planet.
Yeah.
But it's because of his hard work that he's able to get this shit done. Not a speck of luck ever. He's even frequently wrong. He got I don't know what he had, but like that thing to look at the stars for GPS.
Oh yeah, true. Yeah.
Yeah, he was wrong there for months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It didn't even occur to him something else could have, because he's still human anyway. Yeah, after all.
Yeah.
So there is always room for error. He can always get things wrong, but he's always stepping up. But there's no luck involved at any point in the
Him
moment.
becoming chief to marry and then says, I want a divorce.
And it's also interesting because he doesn't also seem to put down like Chrome or anyone, because he understands the how vital it is to have scientific thought and to grow and to happen.
Because he's been there.
And he understands that Chrome is important. Is extremely important for...
He doesn't put Chrome down at all. If anything, he puts him on a massive pedestal.
Yeah.
Senku's only where he is because he's got centuries and centuries of science to back it up. He's read these books. And that's how he knows this shit. He's read it and he's done some of the science himself with all these resources he has available of his time. Chrome is up to that level with nothing.
Yeah.
Not
You can't beat me in maths.
There is no one else in that village with any scientific knowledge. There's a craftsman. He's pretty fucking... But...
Great Detective Tweaker on your case.
Rick is amazing.
The
The
melon
child becomes a ball. She's just there, and then ball, and then just rolls.
One of my favorite bits of those in that arc is, I think, glasses with Suika and Kinro.
Oh.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Something that just
Yeah.
seems so
Glasses.
ordinary in our world. Something that I use on a
Hiroki
daily
gets
basis.
the glass from the glasses,
Yeah.
fills it with his own sweat, and uses that to create fire because
Yeah.
he understands how fire is created through different types of lenses.
Yeah.
He's not some idiot that with a fucking convex lens. He knows how it's gonna fucking. Fuck me, it's amazing.
And he was the guy that was initially sort of hesitant about science and hesitant about Senku, despite understanding part of what Senku represents and using it against. It's awesome. It's great how everyone, mostly everyone, interacts and how they perceive science and how they benefit from science. It's just very, very interesting to see that happen, and them using science in ways, and even in ways where you're like, oh yeah, and
Yeah.
also our own perspective, like how our own perspective, like, gives us sort of an idea. You know, like I remember when before Chrome made the water wheel, when he had that idea, I'm like, is he gonna make what I think he's gonna make?
Yeah.
And then he made what I thought he was gonna make. I'm like, that's amazing, because from our perspective, we can guess, and we can also understand the implications. The tribe people don't know. They don't know what a fucking phone is until he makes it. But we know what a phone is. So when he says, I'm gonna make a phone, it's like, you what? You're gonna make a phone, a fucking phone.
Oh, and the phone
He
with
does.
the speaker. He uses that to create a speaker for the music disc.
Yep.
He
Yep.
reuses
Yep.
technology.
Yep. Which happens a lot. I mean, a lot of technology we have has come from the space race. It was like Velcro was designed for space, but we use it here because it's also fucking useful on Earth, and not just up there.
Oh, and there's something I find it interesting in Dr. Stone. They're currently at war, so Senku's like doing everything he can to get them to a level to fight against this. But he's kind of speedrun this shit. So he's got like phones, and he's trying to make a car now, chapter. So I can't wait for like the next arc to start. It's like, all right, Gen's like, all right, Senku, what are we making today? Spoons, because they haven't got the basic shit ready. So I can't wait to see like just some of the most basic things possible after they've already made this like weapons of mass destruction. And it's like, all right, we're gonna get some glass cups today to drink from.
Ah, yes.
In a way, it's almost like primal punk, if that's even a thing, because they've got this really high tech, but it's made from more primitive materials. Like, it's a phone, but it doesn't look like our phone, because we don't have production. He doesn't have production tech. He doesn't have things that can cut perfectly the perfect shit. He can't do that. He needs to make things a bit bigger and a bit different. So it is always interesting to see, okay, well, how's this going to look in the stone world, as they call it? How's it going to appear in primitive punk or prime punk, or no, there must be a term for it. Primitive shit that is made to be high tech. But yeah.
Yep.
That's why Dr. Stone is on there. And finally, the last one. Dungeons and Dragons.
What a fantastic experience.
This was something that I had been wanting to get into for very fucking long. Very fucking long. And it was something that I had never sat down and actually attempted to figure out. Until I did. And then when we actually played it, I'm like, holy shit, this is literally my favorite game of all time. it is my favorite game of all time. Because fundamentally, the reason is because there is almost no limit. You can do whatever you want. You can think outside the box. There's no... Like, obviously there's rules so that it doesn't become too crazy. But it's in a way where it's open ended. Yes, it's open ended. That's it. It's open ended. Where you see a room, and instead of just being like in a regular game where you're just like, oh, maybe I'll just sneak, or maybe I'll do this. No, if I really wanted to, I could become a spider, crawl above them, and then become a bear. And that's something you could never do in another game. In another, like, in a video game. In other tabletop games, you can probably do that. But in regular video games, you couldn't. You can't think outside the box like that. You can't just say, well, I'm going to ask this particular question instead of just 3 prompts that you have to choose from. You know what I mean? You can't try and convince the creatures all the time. You simply can't. This you can. This you can do almost whatever you want to get in the given situation, as long as obviously your character can do it. And that is what I just fucking love about it, is that it can be each time you have a session, it can be truly unique. Just from the actions you choose and just from the things you can do. Many spells, that's why I like the magic in the game, because some spells you could genuinely just use it to do funny stuff.
Basic shit.
I didn't play this yesterday, but I was so tempted to use Gust to push Ethan into the water. I was so tempted because it just would have been funny. I was gonna do it to Vigesh.
I was actually planning, because you know how like you and Vigesh kind of entered the room, right, on your own with like the 2 guards with the prison. I was planning on entering the room as a third party, saying, "Who can I trust? Who are you? Who are you? Tell me who the boss's name is." How do I know who she's? But of course that didn't happen because you killed them too quickly.
Yeah.
The thing, as a DM, now that I'm DMing, I'll allow any bullshit thing to happen as long as you can sell me. The only reason I told you shouldn't go as a spider and a bear is because there were the 4 drunks in a room. But any other room, I'd have loved to see that. I'd have loved for you to just pull that shit. Any bullshit thing you can pull off, convince me, sell it to me, make sure it sounds funny, and I'll let it happen.
Like Daniel Hamill riding on top of...
Like Daniel D. Hamill riding a bear.
And then the bear rolling in that one, and then he just falls off.
I love doing that. I love Nat 20s being married, Nat 1s being just the most spectacular failures, because it could just be funny.
It's brilliant. When Ethan rolls in Nat 20 for investigation, and he just knows everything.
Just suddenly,
he
did not ask this guy's name, but he knew it.
He just becomes nigh omniscient in regards to that room.
I see and know everything. I know the location of Cragmore Castle now.
I just fucking love it. Games, in a lot of games, I've always wished, I wish I could do this. I wish I could pick that up. I wish I could do that.
Oh, I wish I could walk around the bush.
But in D&D, you can do that. You can do what you want. I could just walk out and say, I'm going off that way. Bye-bye. And then I could just say, I'm going off that. Yeah. And it's just fantastic. It's fantastic that yeah, it's amazing. And you know, even the rules themselves I enjoy. I enjoy the different subclasses and the different feats and what they give you. I find that's really cool. I think it's a good balance between rules and things you can and can't do, and also letting you do more than what would normally be permitted. Which is why, you know, whilst I put Seven Wonders as the representative for the board games, I put Dungeons and Dragons separate, simply because out of all of them, I think it's truly unique, and I would include like other tabletops like Pathfinder and all that. I've just not played Pathfinder. I've looked a little bit into Pathfinder. I just haven't played a lot of it, but I expect Pathfinder would have the exact same sort of feeling of do whatever you want. But it's just we've had experience with D&D, so that's why it's up there. But
and
yeah.
also, So I've got the book, and it's like, this is what you should do. This is what should happen. Here are the things that you can do when this happens, and then you don't do that.
Yeah.
And you're like, tell me this. I'm like, fuck, where is that? I have to pause the session for several minutes just trying to find it.
But it's
Also, creativity though. That ability to do that is why I find it amazing. And I also now feel bad as a player for the DM having to go through all that.
But it's like also that like what you have, because obviously like they'll say players can ask this, and I always found that a bit weird. Like the players it is very unlikely for the players to actually say that, to actually ask that, because there is an infinite amount of questions they could ever ask. How old are you? You know what I mean? What did you last eat? And those are genuine questions they could ask. Now, I don't know why the person would answer them. I don't know why they would ask them. But the point is that it's because it's so open-ended. It's not like a video game where there's a couple of options that you can just press. No, there's a lot more to it, which is fucking fantastic. The amount of times we get asked a question and you're like, "That's a good question. I don't know how to answer this." Was just, but that was amazing because you can just ask those questions.
Waggy is both equally like, wow, that's interesting, nice. And it was like, what about that secret staircase? You're not supposed to know.
Yeah.
It's the map for the player, not the character.
Is there a trap in this room? Well, you're not supposed to know if there's a trap in this room or not.
Roll investigation and fucking find out. I also love making people roll performance for sex.
Yeah.
Because of course I would. Why not?
People.
And it's beautiful when you have things
Your people.
that should just be easy to do, but then you just roll a one. That just didn't fucking work.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah.
And that's my 3x3.
So many dumbass random fucking things can happen. I know I did a one-shot session, like kind of a side. It was supposed to be like a character building filler episode, and we came out of it with like a level 20 hero inside of a rat who lives in my pocket.
Right.
And that was not supposed to happen at all.
Fair enough.
No, it was the best thing, right? Because one of our characters got like put into like some shadow realm or something, and he's like, "Give me a fucking dead body give me a body to inhabit. I need to live." And I previously, as a Warforged, I was underwater. At some point, I fell off a boat and I couldn't swim because I was made of rocks. So I just kind of fell to the bottom. So they had to drop the anchor, and I had to find the anchor to climb up of it. Unfortunately, there was a rat in my pocket, a regular rat that could not breathe underwater. So it drowned while I was just there, like, I can't breathe at all. So I've just had this dead rat in my pocket, which I knew was dead. I just wanted to revive it at some point for a few sessions. And then this random session comes up, and he's like, give me a body to inhabit so I may live in this world. And then Nate's character is like, well, we do have a body you can use. It was the most beautiful moment because it was an IRL session. He literally looked at me, turned around and looked at me and smiled. And it clicked. Yes, I have a dead body you can use. So this fucking eldritch being got this body, and it was a tiny fucking rat in the palm of my hands.
That's something you couldn't do in a game unless
That's
it
not
was
something
scripted.
George could possibly prepared for. He would never expect us to pull a dead rat he forgot about and put an eldritch being into it. Right, because we're mostly pacifist class, so he expected us to fight it, because we're not going to let it have a body. Now we put it in the fucking rat. You can't make this shit up. Actually, we did. We made it up as we went. But you can't just write that up.
Yeah.
Right? As a playing D&D, you can't write this shit. It would just happen. It's how the players react and respond in certain situations, using all the resources they have to create incredibly fun sessions. One of my favorite sessions, that was. But I suppose we're moving on to mine?
Mm-hmm.
Indeed.
Epic. We'll start at number 9. Here is the third favorite Marvel product from this year, because you two took the two best ones.
I wouldn't say third. I still prefer Loki.
Well, third, it's one of my favorites, and I'm going to talk to it. Tell you now why. This series has a lot of faults, and I don't really give a fuck about them because I don't really care. There's one though. There's one episode with Sharon Carter in it, because she was kind of like with like the gang in like a survival kind of thing, and that is bullshit because she was in Madripoor according to Falcon and the Winter Soldier. She could not have possibly been there. That's the one plot hole in that series, which fucked with me. But otherwise, this entire show, for all 9 of its episodes, was this little concept here, this little thing that happened in the past. We're going to change it a little bit, and then we're going to see what it goes with. Episode 2 of What If is the epitome of that. Because it's instead of getting Peter Quill to become Star-Lord, it took T'Challa to do it. Right? And that completely changed the course of fucking everything in the MCU. Right? Because this got this actual capable individual to be a space bounty hunter. Right? And every fucking thing that happens, it's like a reward for being a fan of the series. Watching everything that comes up to the MCU up until that point, you get to see how these little things that weren't really major suddenly become massive driving points in these alternate worlds, because Thanos isn't there to kill that race anymore, so now these things are prominent. In this alternate timeline, in this alternate what if, all these different possibilities have come to pass.
Steve Rogers becomes the first Iron Man.
Yeah, Steve Rogers becomes the first Iron Man. It was really nice seeing the first episode of Peggy Carter becoming, getting the Super Soldier Serum instead, and seeing where that leads us. I like seeing, because Thanos was no longer a threat, because T'Challa's that good, the entire underworld of the cosmos completely flipped on its head. Right, and now the Collector's this massive deal. I love seeing that. I especially loved episode 3 because all these things were happening and you couldn't exactly tell what was the one change. What was the one change that led to so much death? And it turns out to be fucking the Wasp died a bit earlier. Right? It's just that small change led to this domino effect where all the Avengers are suddenly dead. I love that shit. I love that there are so many concepts that I'm aware of, and these writers are also aware of it, and they're like, let's try this. Let's try and move forward with this plot, and then see how that affects everything else in the MCU. And obviously it doesn't, it wouldn't work like that because there are still glaring plot holes, but I don't care. I love that these are concepts that are like, this would be interesting, so we're going to do it. So for every episode of the 9 episodes, this is what could have happened if things weren't a little bit to the left. The smallest changes, including an entire zombie episode. And that's why I put What If in here, even if it's not particularly the best show I've seen this year. God, no, it wasn't. But as a fan of the MCU, I loved seeing all these things from the MCU reworked in these ways, and it felt very rewarding to understand all the references, all the plot points that led to this to happen. And I liked all the voice actors that reprised their roles, except for Robert Downey Jr. and Chris Evans, because apparently that wasn't enough money for them. But Chris Hemsworth came back, and that was great. Now the next one on the list here is Record of Ragnarok. Now this manga, because the show's shit, it revolves around a premise I'm not going to explain, but essentially it's a tournament. The entire thing's a tournament where these gods need to fight these humans, and it's the best, most pristine humans in all of history, right? It's specifically chosen to fight these. That is a completely. It's an interesting premise, but that would not have sold me. What sold me on this way they these characters and they rework them creatively. So you understand how history books work, right? All this history is written is all that we think we know about this person, right? When you document a biography, that's what you think you know about. And on top of that, they're written by the victors. If you're writing about someone who lost, you're going to portray them as someone who was more villainous or more evil. instead of and if you were on the winning side, you're going to write them as something that was much more heroic, right?
Yeah.
So the first character is like a warlord, right? Who was the best fighter in fucking China, whatever year he was alive.
China. Yeah.
The history books wrote that they captured this massive warlord and they executed him, and he was crying while he died. What actually happened was, it was that, but they completely failed to. It's like in Gold Roger was never captured by the Marines, but they said that the Marines did because they wanted to look good, right? He surrendered to them. This guy surrendered to them because he wanted to die. He didn't want to be alive anymore because no one was alive in the time that he could fight with anymore. He was crying when he died because he was so sad that there was no one who could challenge him.
Mm.
This is not what's written in our history books, and this might not even be true in our world. Yeah. But in this world, they're able to take what is written and work that into a way to make this character more interesting. And then there are the gods, these myths and legends, right? They take these legends and what we may know of them and say this is what actually happened, and then this is how the gods portray that story to humanity. So there's what we think we know, and then what actually happened with that. Basically, by pulling at the holes in history and pulling at the maybes and ifs in mythology, they're able to take these characters and to put them and change the history and the context of them to make them far more interesting and compelling characters, and creative and in such a creative way. The way Thor's hammer is done, bro, what the fuck? Right, Thor in general is nothing like your MCU's Thor, your Norse mythology Thor, the one from that game which is fat. God of War, was it?
For me, I think one of the biggest flip on the heads, because there are a lot of gods. Like, you see some of them in the audience, you see some of them talking to each other and whatnot. And like, I think one of the biggest ones for me, the biggest flip on the head was Buddha.
Yep, absolutely. The Buddha was. I know of him, so I'm not going to talk too much about him because I don't know. The way they worked with the Buddha, taking his ideals and put him into this type of character, spectacular.
Yeah.
Oh, so many of the different gods. The way there's my favorite one by far is Poseidon's, but I'm not going to get into that.
Yeah.
But the thing they do with his backstory is a fucking mint, and the epitome of why I love it. And then there are other characters, like I said, written by the victors in the history books. There are characters who have absolutely no mark in any history book at all, because the information about them is just so little known that the writer is able to take, like, oh, this guy was good with knives, let's make him the best, and work with that. It's the writer's ability to get these concepts and able to rework them in such a creative is why I love Record of Ragnarok so much.
And why it works.
And then the fights are fucking amazing. On top of that, it's not just the character backstories that we learn while they're fighting. It's the fights themselves are just fucking amazing.
It's part of
holy shit.
Part of why the series works so well as a manga specifically, because the anime is the absolute dog shit.
Yeah, so
the anime makes it all feel so boring and drawn out, like you have no clue, and it doesn't even have good animation as well, which is tragic.
So let's talk about what's good.
But yeah.
I love and there are some fights where you want the humans to win for plot reasons, but there are others that you just love these gods, these characters so much, right? Because now that you know everything about them, the reasons they are fighting aren't just because, I can fight. Well, some of them are, I can fight. But because of this pride or these particular extraneous circumstances that make them want to fight. The second human fighter, the reason they fought might be my favorite motivation in all of it.
I still want the god to win.
The god did win. And the fifth human fighter, I loved him. He was fantastic. I love that some of them had limitations in their world, and they get to break past them. And that's why I love the reason I love it is because of and then be able to take that and make such incredibly interesting and compelling fights on top of that. That's why I love it. That's why I put Record Ragnarok as one of my favorite manga ever, and on this list. The next one I want to talk about is a very small. It is a niche little anime called Odd Taxi, and the reason it's here is because for a very long time, while watching seasonals, I've been severely disappointed every time they end, because they always had maybe like an open ending, so like maybe read the manga or the light novel to read, or for a second season that will never happen.
Yeah.
And even if they did have a conclusive ending, it wasn't very good. A lot of the times, it doesn't end very well. The moment the series ended, the very last few seconds tied up every fucking every fucking plot line there was in this series. Because it was a mystery series, a mystery thriller it's a mystery thriller. There were detectives involved, there were gangs involved, murder mysteries, and so many mysterious plot lines and so many different characters with seemingly no connection influencing the plot in so many different ways. And by the end of the series, you get to see every single one of these characters' plot lines all merge and connect, and you understand exactly why everything is, even why everyone's an animal. It's so strange when you watch Beastars, right? The reason they're animals is because it's supposed to be a societal.
I literally questioned after the first episode, why are they animals? They don't need to be animals.
Yeah, in Beastars they're animals because that's just like in Zootopia. It's supposed to be race based, right? That's the theme of the series. When you go to a Gretzko and you wonder why they're animals, they don't fucking tell you. They don't care. They're just animals. Your main character is Red Panda. Deal with it. I thought Odd Taxi was the latter. It wasn't. There is a fucking reason, and I love the reason so much. And it was hinted to so early on. It's wild. Like I said before, endings do make an entire series for me, and this one absolutely fucking did. I very rarely see. I can see TV shows doing this. I see American writing. They can finish it off very nicely, but in a lot of anime manga, I don't always get that conclusive cherry on top bow tie ending that I would love to see. Even series I praise immensely, the endings aren't exactly what I want them to be. This one was, and that's why it's one of the best anime that's come out this year, because it's just this beautifully crafted story based on the crime thrillers of the 80s from Scorsese's and your bullshit. I don't know director names. I should, but I don't. Your Tarantino. It's based off Tarantino Scorsese films. I don't know why some of the best things from Japan are based off American things. Cowboy Bebop. But they're good. That's
all of Dragon Ball Z.
Next on my list, another manga I started this year. Going into it thinking it was a romance. It definitely had romance aspects to it, but it fucking wasn't a romance. It was the best thing I read that year. This is Grand Blue. Within the first 5 pages, maybe 10, there was one double-page spread, and it sold me on the entire concept. And I can describe it in one word. Men. Alright, the next series on this list is... No, the Grand Blue is a comedy series. If you know me enough, you know I don't cope with comedy very well. For some reason, I usually watch comedy shows really slowly or read comedy much more slower than I would. I'm trying to read Nozaki-kun. I've been reading that for several months, and I read like maybe 3 chapters a month. I love it. It's great. Every character is amazing. Grand Blue is the best series I can find, which captures exactly what my type of comedy is. It's one of the few comedy series I can truly binge. I haven't even reread Mashal. I read that weekly, and that's fine. I can cope with that. I can binge Grand Blue. No, never has a comedy series, been able to, what's the word? Speak to me in a comedy level so well. No other type of comedy from any other manga or comic book, for that matter, has been able to make me laugh as much or love the comedy as much as Grand Blue. Pa Mashal.
For me, I don't think it was the comedy aspect that got me into the series. I think it was the emotional aspect.
Yeah, and even then there are several emotional scenes as well. Chapter 25, with one of your favorite characters, which I'll never understand. Pretty much when she first showed up.
Yeah.
One of the best chapters in the entire series.
Yeah, and it was well
Easily.
justified, but of course there are chapters later on which helped me understand the character more, and through her emotion, I fell in love with the character.
But fuck him. Fuck him.
And even with those moments as well, that's the reason that one girl is my favorite character. Besides her personality, which is also a very me character, all the emotional scenes is what made her my favorite. Especially her little touching moments with Hiroki. And I like how she acts like a big sister, even though it's very clear that they are not related in any way, and with some of their scenes. And then just like to see the aftermath from everyone else's perspective of when they come in and look at them like, what the fuck have they been doing, with Iori having something shoved up his ass.
My boy.
Literally shoved up his ass.
My boys.
Also, one thing I really like is the whole, it's set at a university kind of level. So
Yeah, they're college kids.
Yeah, college kids. I don't like saying
And they're
college.
they're in this well, it's what they say in the manga.
Yeah.
That's what I say here. The college kids, and they're in this diving club, and it's a large part of that series is them enjoying the diving experience. It's still a major theme in this series, regardless of everything else in the series.
Again, I'm just saying, this artist just likes drawing turtles.
Yeah, they're very good turtles, though.
Very good turtles. Just like drawing turtles. I'm convinced of it.
That manta ray was really good.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Now, I don't like throwing the word around, except I fucking love throwing. But very rarely do I use it truly. When it comes to anime and manga, I usually had this like four I would call this word. After this year, there are now 5 of them. Mushoku Tensei, Jobless Reincarnation, is a genuine masterpiece. It is one of the most well-crafted, well-thought-out, character-driven stories I have seen in my entire fucking life. Only 23 episodes, only just finished its first season a few days ago. One of the most brilliant fucking stories I've ever experienced in my life. The other 4, by the way,
I haven't touched it yet, so I can't really say.
Code Geass and Full Metal Brotherhood. And this one absolutely is going up on.
Yeah, I've heard people talk about how good this is. A lot of people just say like, "Oh,
and I
it's
also want
great."
to stress there are things in this series. It doesn't support these things, and I don't support these things, but they are things in the plot, and it doesn't say that being a pervert is preferable, but the main character is one. It's a damn fucking shame, but he is. It doesn't take away anything from the story for me, because the series does not condone any of the actions he does in the series. It punishes him more than it does advocate for it. Because if it advocated for it, I'd have dropped it at episode 1.
Yeah.
I just want to stress that having these, it's an R18 plus show, by the way. Having these incredibly mature and dark concepts in your story does not immediately mean you believe in those things. You're not gonna watch Zootopia and go like they're fucking racists. They're not. The entire theme of the movie was like racism bad, right?
It's bad.
I fucking hate when someone looks at a series at face value and goes like, this thing includes things that could be observed as anti-Semitism, so therefore they're racist against Jews. Attack on Titan very specifically is about fighting back against your oppressors, you piece of shits. Anyway, there's a lot in this show, and that can be taken if you're an idiot to think it's meaning much more vile, nasty things. It's not. And what else am I thinking? Sorry, my brain just stopped functioning.
Good.
Oh, right. I should probably also talk about it. This Mushoku Tensei Jobless Reincarnation is isekai, right? Your standard isekai story. You've got a fat guy who lives at home, plays video games, and does absolutely fucking.
Sounds like Caleb.
Job, no life, right?
Sound like me.
Right? And guess, do you want to? Okay, Would you like to guess how he dies?
Chokes on a Dorito.
He gets hit by a truck.
Yes. Tlakun.
Right? So he gets put into this new world, and now he's got... And now it's the most basic fucking isekai plot premise you could have imagined. But the thing is, the original light novel came out like 15 years ago. And was incredibly fucking popular. More so than Sword Art Online. Its popularity is where most of the isekai tropes today that exist today come from. It has all those tropes, not because they think it's cool, but because they're the ones that made them the standard. Every single trope that exists in that show that you see in 100 other isekais, not only do they have it, they're the ones that made it and perfected them. It is one of the best fucking isekai and shows I've seen with those fucking tropes because they're the ones that mastered.
Yeah.
They're the ones that did it first. They're the ones that made it the standard that people are like, those are good, let's copy that. And then they fucking shit on them.
Honestly, because I haven't seen it. I haven't binged through it yet because I don't watch anything seasonally anymore besides One Piece.
Well, the first half of the series came out in January, and then the second half was last
I haven't watched it yet, but like, just you saying like shit like because it is an isekai, and isekai kind of puts me off a lot of things because I get kind of tired of seeing so many different isekai just come out at the same fucking time that it can be very tiring. But to know that that it's something unique, it's something different, it kind of makes me more
despite the fact that it's the one that created all these concepts that you've seen 100 times at isekai, it still feels incredibly fresh because it's not copying anything. Well, it's got inspiration from many other series, but it's not copying other isekais. It's making it their own. The thing I have a problem with most isekai is, why are they in another world? Yeah. Why is this character in this world? Why is this character from our world in their world? Why can't you just get a character from their world and have the same story as them? If your MC doesn't bring anything to the table by being in this other world, why is he there? There is no reason for that to be there. Other than maybe putting a character that the average anime viewer can relate to. It annoys the fuck out of me. Jobless Reincarnation, in like the 3rd episode, gives us more than enough justification for why this person from another world is here in an isekai, in a magic-based world. It's his second shot at life. He's not just an incel for the sake of it. He's been bullied his entire life. He has incredible, crippling fucking anxiety to go outside because he's afraid of everything that the world will throw at him. He's afraid of how the world will perceive him, how they'll put him down again and again like they always. Right? Because the last time he went outside, he got hit by a truck. Right? Yeah. Before that, it was many years. He was living in his parents' basement because he can't. There is a mental lock on his brain that knows that if he goes outside, it will be hell. So for the first couple episodes all in this new world, he does not leave the confines of his home or the property. Right? He'll go to the front gates and he'll stop. He cannot leave. This entire series is about him growing as a person, because it's not just him going from cunts to becoming better. It's his second shot at life, right? He's here to try give life a second shot. That's what the entire series fundamentally focuses on. It focuses on him going from the lowest of the low, and then getting his chance to try life again and to do things hopefully better.
Yep.
And these anxieties that he has, the things he's been conditioned to do for decades in his older life, they still exist even in the prior episodes. Even in the later episodes, because when his party may have to disband for certain reasons, right? It's not because they hate him. He thinks he's being abandoned again. Because that's how he's always thought. And he needs to once again learn to grow and understand that this is what it means to live, to move on with your life. People aren't abandoning you. People have their own lives, just like him. He needs to come to terms with that fact. I've seen that many times in many others, but never so masterfully done. I would love to once again say that this series is genuinely a masterpiece in my eyes. Mushoku Tensei Jobless Reincarnation. And the studio, as last I checked, they became a studio specifically to make this anime. right? This is the like first actual project. All these animators and creators came together to finally adapt this renowned isekai light novel. And the quality of animation, the soundtrack, I very rarely pay attention to the soundtrack, but the soundtrack in Mushoku Tensei is fucking godly. The animation looks fucking spectacular. Everything about it, it's a perfect adaptation, I'd say. I've not seen the original, so I actually can't say that, but it's a perfect anime. Fucking love this show. Jobless Reincarnation, the peak of what isekai can be. It's not my favorite isekai, but the peak of what isekai can be. Watch it now on Funimation. Everything else from here has nothing to do with Japan, which I'm very proud of.
And that's why moving forward, I will know nothing about any of the stuff moving forward.
Nothing. Anyone have anything to say? You've not seen Princess Bride?
No.
Bruh, you should get on that. Alright. Now, the next one here is a video game. A video game which it's like a trilogy.
Oh, it's a video game. I was confused about what the hell this was.
Dark and Pictures Anthology, 3-part video game. I want to say similar to Telltale because that's like the peak of the genre of choose your own adventure, but I don't give a fuck about that. It's a choose your own adventure story. Right? The video games focus on one is like a group of divers that find like an abandoned ship, and then there are several mysteries on the ship that they have to solve. And the second one is a cursed town called Little Hope, which I find funny. And the third one is called House of Ashes, which I've yet to playing that tomorrow, unfortunately. But I'll be talking about the first two games here. In many choose your own adventure games, they usually have like the choices that you make, and they have like small changes. But the plot you can usually go one or two ways with small changes along it. Each of these games have about a dozen different possible endings, and each of those have different sub-variations on them, depending on which characters make it by the end of the series. By the end of the game, sorry, not the series. So the first one follows these scuba divers. They're here to fucking have fun and swim, and oh, not the scuba divers. They look for abandoned ships. Ships underwater, they get the loot, and they fucking go home, and they party. They find one still floating, it comes around, and they're gonna go like, hey, this could have a lot of fucking money, let's go on it. Only to find that ship is haunted. There are several unexplainable creatures and unknown events that happen around this ship. Each of them seemingly have their own experience on this ship of random fucking... What's his name? Lovecraftian horrors that appear here. Every single character that you play is a playable character through their perspectives every once in a while. So you get to see what the fuck Andy's doing. I don't remember any of their names. I'm making up names here. Andy's going around like, what's behind this door? And then it's fucking death, and then he runs away. I know there was one scene in this where it was like Itachi's bullshit, where you just kind of looped through the same hallway over and over and over again. That was weird. And the way the story at the end is able to justify and explain all these events that have happened is incredibly interesting to me. And seeing the decisions the characters have to make while faced with these fucking horrors they're going through on this boat was amazing. The second one, Little Hope, is about a bus full of people who go into a bus crash and the bus driver's gone. And now these people have to come out of the bus and figure out what the fuck they're doing in this random neck of the woods. There's an incredible amount of fog, and they all seem to be completely unrelated. Once they go through the fog, they find a small town. It's a town called Little Hope. This bitch haunted! Alright? So now they're here, and they're trying to figure out of this predicament. I'm not doing well in justifying these stories. It's a lot more about the gameplay and the... I don't do well with horror, but I'm still playing these horror thriller type games anyway. About seeing how the story unfolds, seeing how these characters, how you as the characters respond to these situations, how you piece together everything that's... One of my favorite parts of the series, of Little Hope, was when it ended, for that particular ending that we got. It gave us like a slideshow of like all the pieces together, and you get to see all these things that you figured out like connect, if you haven't already connected them already. It was honestly beautiful to see. I cannot wait to play House of Ashes next. I can't wait to see which character I play. Seeing the story unfold, and every decision you make does have a meaningful impact on the game. Even small decisions can lead to certain characters' deaths. Ones that you get bro, I miss them. Rather expensive games. The House of Ashes is on sale for like $26. The third one, they don't have any connection. They're just kind of it's an anthology series. But it's one of my favorite gaming experiences of this year. Going through the story as we go, and it's shaping around what our choices are. It's not your usual story where it's like, you know how you have like objective points and like Halo. It's like, this is where you go for the next part of the mission. This is what you do for that mission. You know, since it's a choose your own adventure, there is none of that. You pick the choices yourself. Obviously, it's not D&D. You can't do exactly what you want to do. Bro, some of them were scary as fuck. It's a fantastic game. Highly, highly recommend. Now, next on the list is Bo Burnham's Inside.
No.
This is a comedy. If you know Bo Burnham, stand-up comedian. And I love stand-up comedians. I used to watch them all the time. Now I watch them only, and I only follow like Bo Burnham is one of them. Okay, I didn't like him that much, to be honest. But this one was on a whole nother level. So he can't exactly do stand-up comedy when there's a lockdown. So this one is him trying to create something like that, like a stand-up comedy, like just a comedy special, but in his own home. So you get to creatively see how he creates these jokes using projectors and lights and things he buys online that get shipped to him to create these entire comedy scenes, and some of the things that he depicts. Some of the songs he sings are fucking amazing. And eventually, because it's not something he created, and like he did it over the span of a year. It's really more of a personal story. How he's coping with the lockdown, how he's coping with this feeling of loneliness. The more you progress into the special, the more you see the burden of this job, of not only doing this job, but also being alone takes on him. And that not with me, but it resonated a lot with many of the people that watched this special, not being able to meet any of the people around them, not able to make any more or maintain any of those meaningful connections. People that may have gotten out of the dredge of mental health and feeling much more happy. In Bo Burnham's case, he's ready to go back into stand-up comedy because he took a hiatus for a few years, only for this lockdown to occur and then put him back in the mud. So many people can resonate with the idea that lockdown, even when they were feeling good before, thinking they were doing well for themselves, and then they're put in this situation that they can no longer cope as easily with. And I thought that seeing that journey and seeing the art he's able to create, and the art is mostly songs and performances, in this context, in this scenario, was just absolutely amazing. Watching it on after rewatching it, I can see a lot more of the craft and the heart that he was able to put into it despite everything that happened. And then he put it on fucking Netflix. Probably the best comedy special I've ever seen. Bo Burnham's Inside on Netflix. And you've got the fucking photo of the projector of him inside. That's neat.
I didn't know. I just picked the photo that seemed normal and good to fit in a square.
Next is a film. Ray and I like to watch film. Try to show each other films. I mostly show her shit that I want her to see. I went through all the Spider-Man films this year and most of the MCU with her in person. This was a film she'd seen and I hadn't, and she told me and I decided in return to show her Monty Python the Holy Grail, which is amazing, but unfortunately, in my opinion, paled in comparison to the absolute beauty and the what's the word? The genius of this film. I don't know how to do justice to this film with just words, because I don't think I actually can. But Probably for the same reason I liked Helk earlier this year. It's an adventure. I miss those kind of things. I miss just getting a series, picking up to start an adventure, right? To see some characters go through these new places and see what these places have to behold, right? Most series like to put a spin on it now, and that's neat and all, and those are really cool spins. But I want an adventure. Give me the fucking adventure. I don't care if they're a fucking nihilist. Give it to me. This one is that adventure. So there's this there's this bride who's gonna the princess. Why is it? Oh, yeah, this princess who's gonna be this bride that's gonna become princess when they fucking get married, but they get kidnapped by this guy cunt who wants money. He's the voice of Rex from Toy Story, and that made me laugh a few times, to be honest. So this your regular like Zorro type. Zorro is in the 2Rs with the all black, played by Antonio Banderas.
The one that most people know.
Yeah, but like when I say Zorro to you two, you're not going to think of that.
Oh, I would, because I'm thinking Western, not the big man himself, the big Chad lad.
So there's that kind of swordsman type character who's on this quest to go save this princess, and he happens to have this happens to be in love with that princess as well. So you go through this journey. You find the what's the word? The obstacles he has to overcome for it to go and save her from not only these people that kidnapped her, but from the person that wishes to marry her. And see how all the odds are stacked against him, especially this fucking guy. I forget his name, but he's fucking massive.
Andre the Giant.
That's the bitch. Andre the Giant. He's one of the antagonists of this film. Seeing him go against people that are adept with swords, a fucking hulking creature, and this one adept with what's the word? Trickery, I'll call it. And able to try and overcome them with knowledge and experience and everything he's gained by being a warrior. And then seeing the Kingsmen coming over to come take the woman again, and he goes through these perilous woods. I don't know how. I'm not explaining this show the true beauty of the Princess Bride and full of where. But then seeing these people that he's come against having their own stories later in the film as well. That you see these coming together. I think you would have heard the line before. My name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father, prepare to die.
Yeah.
I knew that was going to happen, but despite knowing pretty much half that plot before going into that film, it was still one of the most satisfying things to watch when Inigo Montoya killed the person that killed his father. That was real fucking neat. I can't explain this film enough to explain why it's here, but it does absolutely deserve to be here. Genuinely one of the most geniusly flowing plots I've seen in a film in a long, long time.
Mm-hmm.
This film is not ranked. It's not my second favorite, but it is where it is. Last but not least is the Pixar film Soul. First off, I want to get this out of the way. It has the best lighting I have ever seen in any fucking thing ever. I don't really consider some of these things when it comes to film, despite me caring about film, but the production quality wise of things, unless they're like out of this fucking world. The lighting in this film is fucking phenomenal, spectacular. It is mint. Get that out of the way. This film is about a guy, I believe him to be, and he's a music teacher, and he wants to go into a band, right? Because he wants to show off his talent. He wants to be in front of a piano, and he wants to live his life. Unfortunately, he dies. So now we're in this world of souls, pretty much. So he's a soul that's previously lived, and now he's going to go into the fucking dump or some shit. However, before you do that, you can become a mentor. You can teach these new souls what it is to like live and give them passions. So like these like fun like building blocks of life. Joe was like number billion or some shit. He was like soul number 22 billion or some shit. Right? He was tasked to go to help this soul number 22, the first rebel. So there's 22nd soul to ever exist. Every single mentor they've ever had, from fucking Shakespeare to fucking Mozart, have all given up on the soul. And now this high school teacher's gonna get shot. He needs to tell this person, this new soul, what it is to live. Unfortunately, he doesn't give a shit. He steals that soul and tries to go back into the real world, back into his dead body, because he wants to be in a band. Unfortunately, it doesn't fucking happen. He accidentally goes inside a cat, and that soul, number 22, goes inside his body. So now the story is about him as a cat trying to push this soul in his body in the right direction. So once he finally gets back in, he can live his life. It's about the soul who's, for millions and millions of years, refuses to live, finds absolutely no purpose in living a life only for that to end, has absolutely no passion or drive to do anything. And now that this soul is living inside this body, is able to experience what life is, to experience scent, to experience touch, to see the beauty of the world, to hear everything, to talk to every single person on the street, to find out why it is they live. He goes to a barber and goes like, why are you a barber? How'd you find your dream? And this isn't my dream. I want to be a fucking, I don't know what he wants to be. Maybe artist. But it's like, not everyone gets to follow their dreams. It's about living the best life that you can. So now not only does the soul, number 22, get to understands more about human passion and living your life, but Joe gets to understand that his passion, the thing he needs to do, doesn't mean he has to do that for the rest of his life. So, despite me not giving a fuck about living your life in regularly, this film was able to get the epitome of nihilism, right? The first soul to ever rebel against living, to finally live a life, for even the short, to understand what it is like to live, right? To see the beauty of it. Someone who's lived for, who's just a soul who's never got to experience anything, able to experience everything at once. And this other selfish cat that wants to get back into its body is my favorite animated film, period, and my favorite film favorite Pixar film this year. Just absolutely fucking beautiful. Soul, Pixar Soul, that shit was fucking bussin'.
Interesting. I honestly know nothing about Soul, so just.
Oh, I just told you everything about Soul. I could not talk about why I love the film by being spoiler.
Yeah, that's fine. I don't give a shit. I'm just like, all right, well, let's learn about what Soul's about. That's what I was thinking just then, because it's like I've heard things about Princess Bride and even Bo Burnham. I don't know what the fucking the anthology is, and I don't know anything about Soul. Besides, it's Soul. There's a guy. He plays music. There's a cat. That's about it.
Yeah.
I didn't even know there was a cat.
The cat, because he tries to go back into his own body, kind of misses, and then lands in a cat instead. And then there's this 22nd soul accident into his body.
That's about it.
There's more in that film that I mentioned, but that's because it's not particularly why I love the film. The things that I didn't mention, they're really good. There's a whole fucking pirate ship in there somewhere. I'm not gonna elaborate, but it's really fucking funny.
Okay. Yeah.
Really good. Really fucking good. That was my 9x9. Those are my favorite things this year. I had a lot more things I love this year. It was a very difficult process to choose these kinds.
Yeah, well.
Thank you for taking up some of the ones that I couldn't.
Yeah, that's okay.
Hawkeye, No Way Home, Dorohedoro.
Dorohedoro. Did you start Dorohedoro this year?
I would have started the manga this year.
Ah, okay. I didn't know that.
To be
Otherwise,
honest,
I wouldn't have taken it.
I completely forgot about it. I forgot that was this year. So you put it there. I'm like, oh fuck yeah, good point. I could have put Vigilantes.
You could have, yeah. I could have put Oshinoko.
You could have.
All of my ones are just more manga.
I got some manga here. I could have put Orange or Helk. River the Fireflies is something I should have done. I talked a bit about
I could have put Sherlock Holmes.
the BO live action. Which one?
I'm currently in the middle of reading the first Sherlock Holmes.
Oh, you're reading it? Okay.
Yeah, reading it.
I so badly wanted to put Arcane, that League of Legends show, but I couldn't put it above anything else in this list. But what a beautiful...
An interesting question would be, what are we hoping to get into next year?
Fantastic question. Let me think about it.
Oh, I'm gonna fail. Well, there's a movie I'm gonna go see very early on, and that would be The King's Man.
Oh yeah.
So that's good. I don't really know.
There's
Interesting.
Doctor Strange 2 comes out next year, and if you know me well enough, you'll know that I love me some Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
There are a bunch of new seasons of shit coming. I couldn't put them on this because I've either read the manga or have watched the anime earlier. But Jujutsu Kaisen Zero, the movie, actually was this year, so I got to watch that next year, and that'll have some anime only content. I won't put it on the list next year, but I'm excited to see that movie when it comes to cinemas. As much as I don't give a fuck about the series, I actually am pretty excited to watch Demon Slayer second season once it finishes, because it's not a masterpiece by any stretch, but it is a very good watch, very entertaining.
I hope to mainly I'm hoping to read a bit more. When I say read, I mean more like novels and more word things than graphic things. I hope to get back into that because I haven't done something like that in a very long time.
I've been meaning to
Well, not avidly, I should say.
I've been trying to read Neil deGrasse Tyson's what's it, Astrophysics for People in a Hurry. But
Yeah.
And Nathan got me this Batman comic that I should read.
You're welcome. Merry Christmas.
And
to all a Happy New Year.
What are the things that we're willing to read this year? I want to get into
Record of Ragnarok for us. So this year I'm hoping we can at least get hopefully more than 3 podcasts out over what we've read. So obviously one would be Dr. Stone. Record of Ragnarok, I want to do that one, hopefully. And I don't know what the third one's going to be because that's not decided yet.
I want to read. I can't wait for Golden Kamuy and Blue Exorcist, to be honest. Because Blue Exorcist series I've heard that it is good, and most people have seen it, but I know so little about it.
Yeah.
So I want to see what's up with it. And Golden Kamuy, I just know is a series I'm bound to love.
I have stated this, that Golden Kamuy is the perfect series for Alex and me. Every single character is an Alex character or a me character. And that's why it's going to be amazing.
You know what I know? You know the one thing I know? I'm going to spoil as well for Caleb. The one thing I know, one thing that I keep seeing about it, there is an entire double-page spread. And it's a guy with a mustache who's fucking a bear. He's got his dick deep in a bear, and he's loving it. I've seen that double-page spread with absolutely no context ever. No idea what it's about, no idea who this character is, never seen them in any other promotional image of Golden Kamuy. I know nothing about it. I thought it took place in Japan, but there are brown bears?
It does take place in Japan. It takes place in Hokkaido. There are bears in Hokkaido.
I know that now. Bro, what the fuck is... No idea. Can't wait. Oh, I didn't DM Ethan that Dr. Stone thing.
No, you didn't. I'm still wondering what the hell that is.
Yeah. Where? That one. Anyway, what else? Splatoon 3 comes out next year, I think.
Oh, yeah. You still haven't seen anything about Splatoon 3.
Yeah, I've not watched any promotional material on it.
Oh, is that the scene you mean? Oh, okay.
Yeah. When talking about
yeah, I love that
the
scene.
culmination of
Yeah.
There's a Hell's Paradise anime coming out.
Yep.
I want to see the adaptation of Spy Family's
Bleach.
Yeah, the Bleach anime. I guess I'll watch that without watching the other anime.
That's fine. You have all the context you need. Why do I feel like there's something I'm missing?
Oh, if I could actually run the fucking the Dishonored games that Caleb talked about.
Yeah.
If I actually get the means to play them, I will. But I bought them. So
The Forest 2.
That is soon.
Also Star Wars. Lego.
Oh, Boba Fett's coming out.
Oh, yeah.
Tomorrow.
Oh wait, but that's not next year. That's not next year. That's tomorrow.
I'll watch most of it next year. We can put it. It's after this.
My boy Boba. My boy.
Oh, and I don't know when Moon Knight's coming out, but if that's next year, that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's
that's
cool.
as much as I can think of on the top of my head.
Yeah. Happy New Year's to all. That will be episode 16, the final episode of the Kiln, making it in great timing. Goodbye. Yeah.
See you around. Almost 2 hours, that one.